Hello and a very good morning. Welcome to Shop on TV. I'm Hayley Green.
I'm Sean Crawley.
And together we've got a show that I really do think you're going to be so pleased that you've switched on, because perhaps you've not written a will yet, and perhaps you're just presuming that you've told the kids. They know what...
Everything will be all right.
What you want, where everything you want to go, and who's going to get the ring, and who's going to have this, and how it's going to be split. So it'll be fine. But sadly, unless you've actually written a legally written will, there is another will out there that will take place which won't be what you wanted to happen.
Exactly that. There is a government will as such, and we'll talk about and explain what that government will is. When that's put into place, it just goes through a series of yes-no questions to decide what happens to your estate.
What you've worked so hard for all those years.
Writing a will is so important.
Well, for us, we've been together. I was going to say married then. We're not married. Wow, I nearly married us.
Wow.
We've been together 34 years. And obviously, all our families, you know, my family, Sean's family, know that if I passed, everything was mine was Sean's, and vice versa. But that government will, that would not happen at all. It wouldn't care that we'd been together all those years. And it gets even more complicated when you've remarried, you've got children from different partners, and you presume, even though you live as one big happy family, it will be shared equally. That is not the case with that government will.
Now, you are watching us on Shop on TV, on ITV1 and STV, but we're working directly with experts tonight from Simpler Law, and they have got us some fantastic offers when it comes to wills and lasting powers of attorney. If you've not heard of lasting power of attorney, or you've heard the term but you don't know what it means, we'll explain that for you as we go through the show. But we want to show you the offers straight away and show you how easy it is.
Yeah, because I think instantly you'll think writing a will, it's going to be really expensive and it's going to be really complicated. Now, it's called Simpler Law because it couldn't be more simpler simple when you deal with Simpler Law. Price-wise, though, super affordable, and we've even got extra discounts tonight. But I must say, this price that you see in the red is only until Friday at close of business, so it is a completely time-limited offer. So what you would normally pay, which is for a will, is great value for money at £249. Our price was meant to be £149, so taking £100 off. However, you've got a further £30 discount. So for these next couple of days, up until 5 o'clock on Friday, £119 is your deal to make sure what you want to happen to your possessions actually does happen, and you can split that cost over those 4 payments. So £29.75 is the first of those 4 payments, making it just so affordable. So
affordable. Now, we also have lasting powers of attorney on the show. You might have heard how important it is to have lasting power of attorney, and we'll explain that as we go through the show. Our usual price of £349. Our show special at 40% off was supposed to be £209, but we've got an extra discount there. A further £20 off the price brings it down to £189, and with your splitting of the cost, if you want to use those interest-free payments, it's just £47.25 on your first of 4 payments. And then the best value of all, if you want to write your will and get a lasting power of attorney, well, the usual price is £598 there. It comes down to £358. However, we've got an extra discount there for you. Until close of business on Friday, you can write your lasting power of attorney for £278. That value is spectacular, and that comes down to £69.50 on your first of 4 interest-free
Now, if
payments.
you decide to secure these deals tonight and you secure the will deal, don't panic, because you will be able to. If you've watched the whole show and think, oh gosh, no, we should do lasting power of attorney too, they will allow you to change just by getting in touch tonight and hanging on to those deals. You can then choose the right deal for you. But don't forget, we have got a little extra tonight. Not only the extra money off, we've got 250 books. The last time we came to air, these completely disappeared. 250 books that I think everyone from 18 should have, because this is vital information that people would be searching for.
Well, it's what my family should know. So it's having all your information in one place. Things about your life policies, your bank account details, but then things like digital accounts.
Which you wouldn't think about, would you?
Passwords for phones and tablets.
And it might be that all the photographs are on your dad's phone and you don't know the password. You've lost all those precious photographs. Or it might be that on a tablet there's vital emails that that you need to get to, but you can't because you don't know that password. So all that information in one place, so you know that your loved ones, they're not hunting here, there and everywhere and trying to find out what that password was. All that information is in that book, but it will be only before the first 250 people that secure the deals. Now, securing the deals is so simple
really
tonight
easy to get into,
because there's a right way for absolutely everybody.
There really is. It's really straightforward. You can go direct to Simpler Law, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. You can call the call centre. Now, the team are in the call centre right through until 3 a.m. They're there ready to waiting to take your calls.
And they're an amazing team. If you've got a couple of questions, I know they'll answer those questions, you know, tonight. However, tonight is really about securing the prices, and then they'll discuss getting back in touch with you so you can talk about all those questions and sort out a date that's right for you.
So it's 0333 600 2600 if you want to call.
But what the majority of people do, it's either really the phones or you've got your phone right by you, and we all like to text, don't you? And you think, well, actually, I don't fancy talking to anybody tonight. If you just text the word will, WILL, to 66777, that's all you need to do. Those deals are secured. That will price, the lasting power of attorney price, whatever you choose to take, those prices are all secured. And what the team will do is they'll know your number, they'll get back in touch with you later on today. But remember, you must do all of this before close of business on Friday.
I would do it tonight whilst you're watching the show.
You forget, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've done it so many times. And if you are thinking, well, normally I go through Shop on TV's website, you can do that as well. So there's loads of ways. If you actually scroll down to about halfway down the page, you'll see there.
Our on-screen partners are right there. Just click on the Simpler Law logo. It takes you directly through to the offers that we talk about. And then when you scroll down, there's just a few details for you to fill in. It's really simple, really straightforward. But you're taking that first step to make a will. And if you've thought about it, but just never got round to it, or you've put it off, you're taking that first step, which is so important.
I think so many of us, we just presume for a start, but we do put things off. We'll do it next week. We'll do it the week after. I'll wait. Perhaps you've got a holiday coming up. I'll wait till after the holiday. Remember, all you're doing today is securing those deals. If you don't do it right now, it'll be summer. You'll be on holiday, won't you? Then all of a sudden it'll be autumn, and then it'll be winter,
and it'll be Christmas,
and you still haven't sorted that will out. It's so important, and do stay with us to see why it is so important. Honestly, what you want to happen with what you've worked so hard for all your life, what you want to give to precious people, whether it's family members or perhaps as family members you don't want to have things. If you don't write a legally written will, sadly, what you want to happen, it just isn't going to happen, because that government will instantly fall into place, and it's not what you want at all.
Now, like we said, we're working alongside the experts tonight in the field. Simpler Law and the team join us. Ian and Charlotte are with us here in the studio. Lovely to see you both again.
Oh, and you.
And now it's so important, isn't it? And I think we should go straight into a will, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Why is it so important that we do have a proper will?
You've kind of hit the nail on the head. I think what a lot of people don't realise, because the information isn't readily available, is every adult in the UK has a will. That's a default position given to us by the government if we don't make our own. So for me, this is all about control. Everything that you've got, everything that you've worked hard for, and you know your family better than anybody else, and you know what you want to happen better than anybody else, without making your own will, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. And actually, I'll go as far as saying I can guarantee it won't happen if you don't make your own will. Because unfortunately, as you said right at the top of the show, there's lots of people who might say, my son knows what I want to happen, my daughter knows what I want to happen, or there's that basic sort of opinion of, I'm sure everything will be okay.
It'll be okay. It'll be all right.
And I understand all of that, but sadly, the family find out that it's not okay when it's then too late to fix. And it's so easily fixable with a 15-minute phone call to someone like Charlotte, and for less than £30 a month.
That's crazy, isn't it?
The value that you can give yourself and your family, and that level of control, you can only get by making a will. And that's why we've done these shows. I've been doing these shows for over 13 years now, because we want to tell people, look, making a will isn't a morbid thing, it's not a difficult thing, and it's not an expensive thing, but it's one of the most selfless things you can do for your family. And no one ever regrets making a will. No. But sometimes the families regret that you didn't, just because they don't know what's coming down the line. If someone passes away, and then the government will, the rules have been tested, then comes into place.
And that's years old, isn't it?
1925, it's going to celebrate its centenary this year.
Gosh.
So that's our government will, which is so... I mean, it's not going to work for anybody, especially now when so many people are, well, we're looking at it right now, so many people are remarried with children from different partners. They've got, you know, lovely families that don't even see themselves as stepsisters and stepbrothers. But
Absolutely, yeah.
the law won't see that, will it?
No, and, you know, being a little bit sort of generic, if you like, but 100 years ago, you know, there was the standard, you were married, you stayed married, you might have 2.4 children.
Yeah.
You know, divorce was pretty much unheard of, but you know, today, over half of the families in the UK are a dynamic family. There's a blended family. So it's not unusual for us to speak to people where they've got children together. They might have children from previous relationships. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But unfortunately, the legislation hasn't kept up with how society's changed. So unfortunately, when one of those people passes away, if they haven't made their own will, what they think or hope is going to happen, and that's more the thing, these assumptions are more a hope. I hope that all my family are taken care of. When the government will comes in because you haven't made your own will, then children miss out and families fall over it. It's one of the single main reasons for a breakdown in family relationships is following a bereavement when everything's gone wrong.
Yeah.
And it's all fixable, but it's only fixable today when
You've-
you decide
yeah.
to do something.
And you've just got to write it down. Just write your wishes down.
Legally write it
in
down.
a legally binding document.
You speak to someone lovely like Charlotte.
Yes,
who's
like
got to
Charlotte that's with us tonight, which is lovely. So please, you must. Writing a will is so important, and we'll go into much more detail, but so affordable for tonight. You just need to secure those deals. If you don't write a will, it can completely break families up because what they think is going to happen, what you've all discussed, what you know is going to happen, actually isn't going to happen if it's written down. But there's something else that's really important as well, which is the lasting powers of attorney. And though I know you will have heard of a will, I think lasting power of attorney, you possibly haven't unless something's happened in the family or somebody you know's family and you've discovered that that's so important.
Now, Charlotte, if you could just briefly explain for anyone at home who's maybe heard of the term but don't know what it is, what is a lasting power of attorney?
So these are documents you put in place, hope you never need, but they're there should you ever need them.
Okay.
So it's if you lose your capacity for any reason, whether it be ill health or a freak accident that means you can't make your own decisions, lasting powers of attorney allow you to nominate who you trust to essentially step in your shoes and become you and make those decisions on your behalf if you're unable to. So it could be a family member, it could be a friend, but it means that those people can access your bank accounts, they can pay your bills, they can manage any properties you've got, decide where you're living. So all of these decisions that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis, if they are snatched away from you by, like I say, a freak accident or ill health, you know that someone can step in.
Someone can make
and
all
keep
those decisions
those
for
things.
you.
Yeah, exactly right.
So-
Someone that you trust.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's
And
so
again,
important because again,
your
what does
choice.
happen if the fact you haven't got a lasting power of attorney, if someone was in a situation where they've had a terrible accident or Alzheimer's, they can't look after themselves anymore, where you know, I'd presume I could look after mum.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
Yeah, and
is
again,
it?
these presumptions and assumptions, they are a hope. You would hope that you could look after your mum. But if you think logically, if your mum's fit and well today, you can't go into your mum's bank and say, oh, I'm obviously my mum's daughter, can I just access her money? They'd
No,
go,
no.
No.
So if your mum lost capacity, that doesn't change anything. In fact, it actually makes it harder because now your mum's a vulnerable
It
person.
heightens it.
So the honest answer to the question, what happens if you haven't got a lasting power of attorney, what happens is unknown because then you have to go through something called the court of protection. But when I say you, it's going to be someone that's related to you or close to you that's going to have to try and apply to get the authority to help you. And it might not necessarily be someone that you would choose for yourself. What we're trying to do with these shows is tell people you've got an opportunity to take control if life throws you a curveball or when the inevitable happens. And it's really important you do that because without that you might have all these wonderful ideas and wishes and know exactly who you want to step into your shoes in the case of incapacity, for example. But unless you document that and document
it
it
in
correctly,
place, yeah.
it doesn't happen. And please don't fall foul of, I'm sure everything will be okay.
No.
It
Because
won't happen to me.
yeah,
We hear
it
that
won't
a
happen
lot.
to me and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
But sadly, the reality is you won't know about it, but your family will. And you can do something amazing for your family today. It's a really selfless thing. Both lasting power of attorney wills are really selfless, but I promise you that you get something out of it as well because everyone finds the process really cathartic. but you know you've done something amazing, not just for yourself, but ultimately for the people that you love and the people that you want to be able to help you if you need help. But more importantly, everything you worked hard for, you want to make sure it's going to where you want it to go, or as you mentioned as well, or not going somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, because not all families are perfect. We're not all the Waltons.
Now, there are two types of power of attorney.
Yeah, and we'll
just recap on the monetary one, if you like, property and affairs. They're the features that Charlotte just talked about. And it basically, someone becomes, I love what it says at the bottom. Essentially, you choose someone to trust, to manage your affairs.
Well, you
in the
step
eyes
into their
of the
shoes.
institutions.
So
Yeah.
I know my mum would want me to do all those
Of
things.
course.
That's why this is why I personally know Simpler Law, because I did lasting power of attorney with Simpler Law. And I did both, and we will go into details with both, because that is your property and affairs. And I think that's probably what you'll think about straight away. But when we spoke to Simpler Law, who are an amazing team, their health and welfare for me was just as important, you know, where mum would be, her care and things like that. And we will go into a lot more detail a little bit later on in the show. So please, deal-wise, we've got incredible deals. You've got professionals that know exactly what they're doing and allowing you to have someone to trust to make sure what you want to happen actually does happen, because it is sadly completely out of your hands otherwise.
And remember, we are working directly with the experts from Simpler Law. We've got lots of stories and scenarios to explain to you why it's so important that you write a will, that you have a lasting power of attorney. And we'll run through all of those in the show for you. Remember, go direct to Simpler Law this evening, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV.
And if you actually just text the word will to 66777, and we'll give you all these details again. This is so simple. You know that you have secured all the prices that we've got tonight, because these prices are only until close of business on Friday. If you haven't seen the prices, don't go anywhere. We're going to join STV and we'll be up with lots more. A very good morning and welcome to Shop on TV. I'm Hayley Green.
I'm Sean Crawley.
And you'll be really pleased that you have switched on tonight, because we've got a programme where I think it makes you realise something that perhaps you've put off for ages because you thought it was going to be too expensive, it's going to be complicated. Writing a will is something that is so important, because sadly, if you haven't written a will, there's a will out there. You have got a will, actually, because there's a government will.
Yeah, the rules of intestacy, and we'll run you through that as we go a little bit deeper into the show. But we want to show you the offers that we have available and remind you of the offers if you've already been watching the show. We've got wills, we've got lasting power of attorney, and we've got a combined offer for you tonight, working directly with the experts with Simpler Law. So if you want to write a will, imagine being able to write a will today for £119. The value here is brilliant.
Well, I thought it'd be thousands, so at £249 I'd be quite happy of that price. But actually we had a special 40% off for the show, and that's what it was meant to be. £149 was your deal. But very kindly, Simpler Law, we haven't had a show for a little while. They were like, go on, we'll give you an extra £30 off. Now, all these prices, they will go back up after close of business on Friday. So £119, if you want to secure that price, really I would do it right now, just in case you forget tomorrow. Will's so important, but if you don't know what a lasting power of attorney is, do stay with us, because I personally think that is just as important.
Yeah,
as
when
a
you
will.
go through the process of writing a will, you'll probably realise how important it is. So lasting power of attorney, the normal price of £349, we've got 40% off. It comes down to £209, and then a bonus discount for you. Further discount of £20, so the price today is £189. Remember, you can spread the cost interest-free, just £47.25 on your first of four
Well, that's
interest-free
crazy, isn't
payments.
it? Because if you were just doing the will, £29.75, I bet you spend more than that on coffee a month, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's you writing your will, knowing that everything you want to happen with what you've worked so hard for is actually going to happen, because honestly, it will not unless you write a will. And if you do sadly fall poorly, you presume a loved one can step into your shoes and sort the bank out and sort the house out, sort the bills out, sort your care out, And sadly, legally, they can't. And again, 47.25. We're going to get a takeaway tomorrow, and I bet that takeaway will be well over that price, which is crazy. But then we've got an even better deal right at the bottom. And don't worry, just secure the deals tonight. If you're thinking, well, I'm going to do my will, and then after you've watched the show, you think, actually, no, I'm going to go for the lasting power of attorney and the will, this has got a fantastic saving.
Well, yeah, usual price of 598 comes down to 358 with a 40% discount that Simpler Law do for us here at Shop on TV. But we're going to give you another £80 off, so it comes down to £278. Today's offer price. Remember, only up until the close of business on Friday. And if you want to use those interest-free payments, just £69.50 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. You'll also see at the bottom of the screen there, the first 250 people will receive this book, What My Family Should Know. And this is invaluable. It really is. In here, you can put all the details for all your bank accounts, all your contact details, any pensions that you've got, but also all your digital accounts, digital
Things you
passwords.
wouldn't think about, isn't it? That's so important. If someone, you could lose some beautiful photographs because they're all on your dad's or your mum's, your brother's or your sister's phone because you can't get onto that phone to get those photographs, and you've lost all those memories. Or it could be actually you need vital emails, and because usually it's letters, you're going through boxes of old letters, aren't you? But no, emails now, and you can't get onto that tablet to get those emails. Actually, a family member of Sean's, that suddenly the sort of granddad, the dad died, and everything they needed was on his tablet, and nobody knew the password.
So to have all that information in one
there's
place.
no way they could get on it. Luckily, the grandson heard, and he played on his granddad's tablet, so he did know the code. But if they hadn't have got that code, it would have been an absolute nightmare. So that book, I always say you should have it from birth, but it's perhaps a bit too early. I think from 18, from when you start working, I think information like that is so
have it all
important.
in one place. Remember, the first 250 people who secure the deals today will get that book free of charge. It's worth £25.
And that usually does go.
Yeah.
So do secure your deals today. And what I would say is do it right now. It's so easy. Even if you're going to bed, if you don't want to speak to anybody, have a little look at all the ways you can contact. You can go onto the website, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV, and you can get in contact and secure the deal that way. And a team will get back to you later on today. Or you can jump onto the phones. The team are there right now.
Yeah, and it's very important you phone Simpler Law directly. The team are in the call centre right through until 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600. Don't think you've got to have any documents with you or any information.
Don't need any information.
Just about securing that offer and securing that book that we just talked about. But the most popular way on these late night shows is always the texting service. All you've got to do is text the word WILL, W-I-L-L, to 66777, and that will register your interest. And it doesn't matter whether you want the will, the lasting power of attorney, the combination. It'll register your interest and make sure you get that book. No one's going to wake you up at 7 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning, and the team will get back to you after 11 tomorrow to make sure you can secure the deal and secure an appointment.
But do it right now, because you'll kick yourself if all of a sudden it's Saturday and you think, oh God, and all the prices have gone back up and you've missed it. And if you normally go through our website, you can. You know, contact through Simpler Law's website, do the text, that's so easy. But if you go onto our website, if you scroll halfway down the page, you can see our partners there and Simpler Law are right there. You'll see all the prices, all the ways to get in touch are there as well. And actually, if you just fill in those really simple details, I was rubbish at exams, but I can do all of that. Just fill in those really simple details. What you've done is secured those prices. And that means you know you've taken that step to look after your loved ones, or even to look after you. I don't know what happens when we pass, but I'd like to think my dad watches down on me, and it'd be devastating to be kicking yourself, seeing your family fall apart, because they know what you wanted. They know exactly what you wanted. You told them 1,000 times. But sadly, unless it's a legally written will, what you want to happen, it honestly will not happen. There's a government will which isn't right for anybody, and that will automatically fall into place if you haven't got a will.
So just get in touch. It's as simple as that. There's also the QR code on screen if you want to scan that with your phone, and that'll take you through to those offers. There it is. Now we've got to meet the team who join us from Simpler Law, the experts in the field. Ian and Charlotte are with us once again. Again, it's lovely to have you with us. It makes such a difference, I think, to people. And we were talking before the show how important it is. But everybody needs a will, don't they, Ian?
Yeah, it's all about control. I think there's quite a lot of myth and misconception around wills and estate planning in general. And I think there's a lot of people who just assume that everything's going to be okay, and I understand where that comes from. And so sadly, it's only when the worst happens that the family realise that what their mom, their dad, whoever their loved one is that's passed away, what they wanted to happen then isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And of course, at that point, it's too late. So the only time you can act is now. That's why we've done these shows for the number of years that we have. We want to try and tell people, look, it's not going to be okay like you hope it's going to be. And we don't say that to scaremonger, we say that to educate, and we don't mean that in a patronising way, because you can only know what you know.
We had no idea that...
Yeah, why would, unless you're geeks like me. Well, I won't call Charlotte a geek, but, you know, I've been doing this for a quarter of a century. It's all I kind of know, and we still bang that drum as loud as we can, say, listen, it's really important you make a will. You've worked hard for everything that you've got. You know your family better than anybody else. The right person to decide what your last act on planet Earth is you. So it should be done in a legally written will that's going to be binding, and then it's your wishes, and that's going to happen. If you don't do that, you're basically saying by default, most of the time unwittingly, that I'll accept the government will.
Yeah.
Which is a set of rules that will come in if you haven't got your own will. And there's no grey area in this. There's no, well, what's the alternative? You either pass away with your own will in place or you don't. And if you don't, the government say, not a problem, we've already prepared one for you.
And a lot of people won't even know this exists, I think.
And I don't see that it works for anyone. It doesn't work for us. We've been together 34 years, but we're not married. So straight away, the first question there, we're out. So, you know...
We're out.
Failed.
Yeah, I would presume all of my, you know, what I owned, it's ours. So if I went, it'd be Sean's. If Sean went, it would be mine. And our family know that. But that government will would not let that happen.
And that is one of the biggest disbeliefs, and again, understandably so. You've been together 34 years, so everybody that knows you, you're a couple. It's obvious to most people that you would want everything to go to each other. But if you don't make a will that says that, the government will come in, and the first thing that the government will ask is, are you married or in a civil partnership? And by that is the person that passed away, were they married or in a civil partnership? If the answer is no, the next question is, do they have any children? If the answer is no after that, it then follows down your bloodline.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So basically, there's absolutely no provision for unmarried partners.
No.
And that freaks people out, because it's like, and people will challenge us on that and say, well, that's not right, and I'm sure that won't be the case for us. It's not me who's actually saying that.
I haven't written it.
That is what happens, and unfortunately, you don't want to pass away to find out that what I'm telling you is true.
Yeah. No, and I think sometimes you think, I can remember now a story way back, and sort of somebody died, and you expected it to go to the you know, to certain people, and it ended up going to a long lost relative they didn't even really know in like France or something, and that's why, isn't it?
We could do a whole show just telling you all the horror stories that we've come across over the years. And they are horror stories because, you know, the family's already bereaved, they're heartbroken, and then they find out that what mom or dad wanted to happen is now not going to happen. You know, not all the families are perfect. Sometimes you've got someone who's phones up and says, my dad made it very clear that he didn't want his daughter or his son because they've had a fallout for 20 years ago. But it isn't enough to tell your other children, just make sure our Johnny doesn't inherit. Is not legal. So the family go, oh, it's okay, we'll sort that out. But actually, under the rules of intestacy, the government will, all children in that scenario would inherit equally. So that creates a real problem that can be fixed by talking to someone like Charlotte for like 15 minutes.
Yeah. And the other thing, Ian, is if so many people now are remarried, they've got children from different partners, but they live as one big happy family. They don't see themselves at all as being stepsisters or stepbrothers. So like you say, you know, it would all go to the children. But actually, that wouldn't be the case, would it, if you were a mixed family?
No, and let's be honest, it's not unusual for us to speak to a couple now that might be on the second or even third relationship. Yeah. It's not unusual if they've got children together. It's not unusual if they've got children from previous relationships. So you're absolutely right. You could have 3 different bloodlines for all intents and purposes. And that word bloodline is really key, because the government will doesn't identify whether you're stepchildren Like, it doesn't care. That's the worst thing. It's a default position that says, right, you didn't make your own will, so this is how everything that you own is now going to be distributed. And forgive the finger puppets, but it's the best way to illustrate it, is if you've got a couple that are on the second marriage, for example, and they both had children from a previous relationship or a previous marriage, let's say Mr. passed away first, the government will might say, yeah, everything goes to your spouse, which may seem fine, so it all goes to Mrs., that's fine. But then when Mrs. passes away, she might reasonably expect that all the children are going to inherit, but actually it's only her children that would inherit then. Because it would go to her bloodline, totally exclude his. And people go, no, that's not right, that's not fair, that won't be how it works. I promise you that's exactly how it works. And that's why we do these shows to say, look, if your situation is anything like that, or more to the point, if you want to take control and make sure that what you want to happen is going to happen, don't leave it to chance, don't hope. Send a text tonight, pick up the phone tonight, speak to Charlotte or a member of her team, and I promise you, I guarantee you won't regret it. If you do, we'll give you your money back. But by the time you've spoken to someone like Charlotte, it'll be one of the best things. Maybe not Charlotte.
I was waiting.
I knew I was.
That was quite
I
quick,
thought he
actually.
was doing really well then. I thought he was going to be nice.
I know.
Charlotte is brilliant and we do well together. But any member of Charlotte's team, any member of the client care team, our whole purpose, if you like, it sounds a little bit crass, but our whole reason for being there is to make sure our clients get the will that's right for them. Because of course it's bespoke.
It's
not
personal.
100% personal. It's you, it's your family, it's what you worked hard for. So it's your will. It's not our will, it's your will. And we'll only draft those documents for you when you're 100% happy with what you've told us and you're 100% happy with the advice that we've given you. And with that confident in what we do, that every document that we draft is insured for £5 million. So if we make a mistake, you're covered. And touch wood, we never have.
And Charlotte, when people get in touch, like Ian said, they could speak to you. You're one of the team, and you do the appointments as well, don't you?
Yeah.
But initially, if people are watching at home, they don't need any documents or anything, do they?
They don't need anything. All we're asking today is that you take that first step. We will deal with everything else. If you've made that call, you've made that text, we'll get back in touch with you. We send out what we call a welcome pack. So if you go ahead and you take up one of the offers, you'll get something through email which explains what to expect from your consultation.
Great.
But even then, you don't need anything.
Brilliant.
All you need to know is that you want to do something really good today. You want to write a will. We'll ask all the questions. You've got all the answers. You might think, oh, I still don't even know what I want to achieve. I don't know where I want things to go. And that's still fine. The point is that you want to do something and you want to protect what you have got.
The nice thing is,
rolling.
it's like a conversation. When I did Mum's lasting power of attorney, the ladies I dealt with, they became friends really, and not at any point did I think this is a silly question to ask.
It's very laid back. You don't have to worry about it.
And me and Mum are the most nervous people ever, and we were terrified and sat there waiting on the screen, you know, oh gosh, what are they going to ask us? But actually, it is just you make it a really simple conversation. We had the answers. You just knew the questions to ask to find those answers.
Exactly right. And again, the consultation is personal to you as well. A lot of clients may come with all the answers and it be done in one sitting, and that's fine. But again, others may not, and we go at your own pace. We won't produce a document, as Ian said previously, until you're 100% happy with it.
Right.
So, you know, if you need more time to think about something, that's also okay. The whole point of this show is that you're saying, I want to do something really good today. Take that first step, pick up the phone, send a message, and we will do everything else for you. But we have never spoken to a client that's got to the end of the consultation and not gone, oh gosh, that feels really good. That's a weight lifted that they didn't even realise that they had.
You can only know once you've gone through the process how good it's going to be for you. And don't get me wrong, not everyone at the end of it goes,
but they do have fun sometimes. We do.
Well, it's a surprising thing. People put it off because they think it's going to be morbid or expensive or difficult, and it's none of.
Well, I read a review just before the show, and I think it was a lady, and she said, "Oh, it was fun. We had a few laughs along the way as well."
It's just planning for something. You know, we plan for loads of things in our life, and
it's like a weight off your shoulders, if I'm honest. Once you've done it, you just think, "Oh, I've done it. You know, that's it.
Put it to
forget
the side,
about
carry on
it.
with your life."
Yeah.
Exactly.
The interesting thing, and Charlotte knows this more than I do, because obviously this is what Charlotte and her team do every single day. But you can only know what you know, and so some people start and it seems very simple. Sometimes we panic if someone says, "Oh, my situation's really simple."
Right.
And by the end of it, what's happened is something's come out and something's being said and this has happened, and you can almost see the client going, oh, if I'd not made this call, it was going to be a disaster. So
Yeah.
a weight that they didn't even know existed is lifted. But you can only know that if you do the hardest thing. And the hardest thing isn't talking to Charlotte or the client care team. The hardest thing is just sending that text tonight, and that shouldn't be difficult.
That first step.
Yeah, we're rubbish at
You've done
that.
that.
You've got absolutely nothing to lose.
No.
Because honestly, if you're not happy with what Charlotte or the client care team do, just say, I'll have my money back, I'm not interested, thanks. But I promise you, if you speak to a member of our team, no one regrets putting a will in place.
No.
And the value of that document, what that does for your family and for your peace of mind as well, is phenomenal. I find myself really lucky to have found this profession, because we know that it might seem really daft and it might sound a little bit crass, but I promise you it isn't. That simple document, as we refer to it, isn't simple to you, because it's bespoke and it matches your situation. And what that simple document can do for you is phenomenal. Just the fact that it takes you out of the rules of intestacy and means that you don't get the government will, that is virtually priceless. We managed to put a price on it, it's £119. But in all seriousness, you can't really put a price on it unless you've got this sliding doors thing where you could see, this is my family when I died without a will, and this is my family when I died with a will.
Absolutely.
And if you had a choice, you'd always choose my family better off because I made a will.
Two different, completely different worlds. Because if you haven't written a legal will, what you want to happen, even if you've told everybody, honestly will not happen with that government will. It's not right for anyone. It's 100 years old for a start, but I shouldn't think it ever has a will been written that actually matches that government will. And there's no reason not to do it.
No,
tonight.
our offers are so good, but remember the prices on these offers that we're going to show you only up until close of business on Friday. We are going to go into more depth about lasting power of attorney in a couple of moments for you. I explain exactly why that's so important as well. But if we talk about the wills first of all there, the usual price on the will, I think that's a great price at £249.
Well, I thought it would be thousands of pounds to write a will, so £249.
That was one of the things that put us off initially, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then you put it off and you put it off, and then it will be, at some point it will be too late. So you've got a great price. Well, tonight's price should have been £149, but kindly Simpler Law have knocked another £30 off there. So £119 is your price. Now that price, like Sean said, only until Friday at close of business. So secure the deal now so you don't forget. I've done it time and time again and missed out on holidays and flights because I didn't book it when the price and the deal was on. And of course, use those 4 payments as well. £29.75, that's the first of your 4 payments. And just think how little that is. Compare that with what you spend on coffee, what you spend on
over a week.
what you spend on a takeaway, chocolate. Honestly, this is making sure what you want to happen for what you've worked so hard for all your life is actually going to happen, because it honestly won't unless you've got a proper will. Then we've got lasting power of attorney, which if you've missed us talking briefly about that, well, we will go into more detail.
Yeah, we'll do that in just a moment after we've reminded you of these offers. So £349 is the usual price, down to £209 for the show with that 40% off, but they've given us an even bigger discount. That's why it's really important to do this tonight. Another £20 off brings it down to £189, and with the flexible interest-free payments that you can see there, just £47.25. But the biggest saving, the best value of all. And if you do change your mind once you've secured, if maybe you're going to go for the will and then you talk to the team, they'll still secure these prices for you if you want to go for the power of attorney.
I think so often a lot of people secure the will price, and then when they listen into lasting power of attorney, think, well, I definitely should add that on as well. They will allow you to do that. You're securing all of these prices tonight, but you must do it whilst those deals are on. And that's a massive saving, as you can see there. And virtually...
So it starts at £598, the usual price.
Normally.
We were going to be selling that offer at £358, but another huge discount of £80 comes off. So it brings the price down to £278. So that is the biggest saving if you want to go for that one. Just £69.50 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. To get in touch, really simple as well. You can either go to Simpler Law's website, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. You can go to the call centre, and the team are there right through till 3 a.m.
The team are fabulous. If you've got a couple of questions, I know they'll answer them tonight. However, you don't need any information. All you're doing is speaking to them, say you want to secure the deals, and what they'll do is they'll get back to you later on and sort out a day that's right for you. Even if you're going on holiday for 3 weeks from tomorrow, that's fine. They will then sort a date out that's right for you after you come back off your holidays. But one of the best things to do is to actually text. And I say this because I think sometimes you just don't fancy talking to anybody, do you? Perhaps you're about to go to bed, perhaps you've spoken to someone all day today, and the last thing you want to do is make a conversation with anybody. We're terrible. I'm like, you answer the door, you answer the phone. We never want to speak to anyone because we speak all day. But texting Will is so easy, and that's it. It's done. If you do that to 66777, you can then have that peace of mind that you've secured all those deals. Do it right now, because as I say, the deal's till Friday at 5 o'clock, close of business. But if you'll forget otherwise, and all you need to do is text that word Will, and the job is done.
You've taken that first step.
Yeah.
And that's what's so
we put
so
things
important.
off so
Or
much.
we just forget. And
Yeah.
Ian always says life gets in the way, and it really does. So do it right now, as Hayley said, and secure those offers with us here at Shop on TV and Simpler Law. Now, we mentioned lasting powers of attorney.
Yes.
Charlotte, for anyone at home who's like, I think I've heard of that, but I'm not sure what it is. Can you explain it for us?
Yeah, so a will is a document you put in place, obviously, when you pass away.
Yeah.
Powers of attorney are for while you're alive, so you want to put these documents in place as soon as you can and hope that you never need them. But they're there if you lose your capacity for any reason, so whether it be a freak accident, whether it be ill health. One thing we see quite a lot is dementia, but any sort of ill health where you can't make your own decisions for yourself. Powers of attorney are documents where you can nominate who you trust to step in your shoes and make those decisions on your behalf. So essentially become you in that scenario if you can't speak for yourself.
And there are two different types, aren't there?
There are two different types. So the first one that people may have heard a bit more is the property and financial affairs.
Right, so all to do with your finances.
Yeah.
And these are just some of the things that you can cover, aren't they?
Yeah. So the person or people that you can choose more than one person, but if you had the financial document, those people nominated can go to your bank, so they can access your accounts.
Right.
They can pay your bills, they can claim pensions, claim benefits. You know, if you think at the moment, if you try to go into someone's bank and access their account, the first thing they're going to ask you is, are you the account holder?
Yeah, it's so silly because I look after Mum, you know, and I sort out all her bills and bits and pieces and things already now.
Yeah.
You do presume you can do that, but then when you actually think about it, like you say, there's no way I can go into her bank now
No.
while she's well to ask to take money out or do anything in her bank.
And if you've lost capacity, if anything, then that's only getting worse because
Yeah,
they've
of
got someone
course.
to protect at that point.
Yeah.
So this document is really, really important because money makes the world go round, doesn't stop because you've lost your capacity. Bills still need to be paid.
Yeah.
If you've got property as well, that may need to be sold. So if you've got that power of attorney for your finances, those people that you've nominated that you trust can keep those things going. They can manage all of those things for you whilst you're unable to do so. So as a power of attorney, you're actually called a donor. Because you're donating your power to your children, your friends,
Right.
your whoever that would be, to
the
make
people
those
that you
decisions
trust,
for you.
the
Yeah, and
people that
again,
you've
it's
chosen
your
as well,
choice.
yeah.
Like with a will, this is personal to you.
So important,
It's
isn't
who's-
it?
yeah.
Who you
Well,
want it to
we
be.
did our lasting power of attorney with you before Simpler Law actually worked with us here on Shop on TV. And you made it so easy. Me and Mum panic about everything. If there's a police car behind, I'm the guilty one. We had one tonight. I was like, oh gosh, what have I done? And you know, instantly know I'm going to be say something daft. That you made it so simple. But what we didn't realise was we came to you for the financial, and then you explained that there also is a second lasting power of attorney.
There is
as well.
health and welfare. Yeah. So this one is a separate document, and this one, as it states, is really anything to do with your health. So these can be the same people as your financial. They can be different. Again, it's
Right.
your choice. It's who you trust. But with the health document, these people can decide where you're living. So if they want you to live at home with them, they can
Right.
make that choice. If it does need to be in care, they can choose which care home that is. They can discuss your medication. Even things which may seem really trivial but are really personal to you, what you're eating, what you're wearing,
Yeah.
if you're a vegetarian.
And those things are really important.
Those real
Really,
personal
yeah.
things.
My best friend had a really bad accident, and without the lasting power of attorney, she is a vegetarian, you know, and it is
Right.
really important what she wears and what makeup she has on.
Yeah,
Her nails
you
are
might
done.
wear a
They're
certain
really
shade of
important
lipstick.
things, yeah.
Yeah, they're important to you and they're important to your family, and your loved ones are going to want to be able to make those decisions for you.
Yeah.
So by having this document, it is selfless because although it's benefiting you, it is benefiting your loved ones because they can do all of those things for you if you can't.
And though I know lots of us, and probably you're the same as me, you presume you can look after your loved one and take charge of all these things. By law, you honestly can't. So what does happen, Ian, if we haven't got a lasting power of attorney and a loved one feels, and this could be a husband, a wife, a mum, a dad.
Well, that's the thing, is the trap that people fall into, and again, understandably, is married couples and civil partners presume again, yeah, but we're married. It doesn't matter. You treat us as an individual. So in this case, whether you're unmarried or married is irrelevant. You haven't got the authority unless someone gives you that to make these decisions for you. And all these things that we've talked about, they seem really small and trivial because we can do it every day, but they get magnified when you can't do it. And so, coming back to your question, if you haven't made a lasting power of attorney and life throws you that curveball, so you are incapacitated through ill health or through an accident, you're then relying on the right person or the right people to go through a process called applying for a deputyship order, which is through something called the Court of Protection. Now, if you look up the Court of Protection, you can find the fees for yourself, and you can find the horror stories about how long it takes. And it's been overhauled several times because it's not a very nice thing to go through.
Well, the costs are all there, and that's sort of starting costs, really, isn't it?
That is basically if the person. So first thing you're hoping is that it's the right person. It's someone that you would have chosen for yourself.
Yeah, because anybody could step forward, I suppose.
Right.
In theory, the Court of Protection are there to vet that person that's gone forward. But that even means if it is the right person, they're having to justify why they want to look after their wife, their husband, their mom, their dad. And the process is so long and so expensive, as you saw with those prices just a minute ago. It's over £400 just to apply. And with all the other fees that can be added on there, if there's a hearing, assessment fees, it's well over £1,300 just to start the ball rolling if you do it yourself. But it's not just the money that's the problem, it's the length of time. And it's the dealing with the court that detracts from what really you want to be doing, which is caring for
looking
the
after
person
your
you
loved
love.
one, yeah.
And again, it's one of these things, if you had a crystal ball and you knew life was going to throw you a curveball, you'd want to appoint and empower these people. As Charlotte rightly said, you're a donor. You'd want to be able to donate your power, your voice, to the people that you trust, because that makes their life easier, and you know you're going to be cared for by the people that you trust. If you had a crystal ball and you knew for certain that life was never going to throw you that curveball, great.
You're all
But
right.
we don't have the crystal ball.
Yeah.
So it's the old classic of plan for the worst and hope for the best. It's going to sound really stupid, but I kind of mean it. It'd be great if it was a waste of your time and a waste of your money almost, because that means you never needed to use it.
Yeah, definitely.
But that is a gamble either way. And the big gamble is if you did need to use it, it's not you that's actually paying for it. Indirectly you will be, because it might not be the person that you want who's trying to step in, but it's the people around you. So again, it's another selfless act. Because if you do lose capacity and you haven't made a lasting power of attorney, the people around you are going to have to pick up those pieces, and they won't have directions on what you wanted to do because you've not done something today while you can. Everything we're talking about today is incredibly selfless, but I assure you that you get something out of it, because at the end of it, you'll be incredibly glad for what you've done.
I think it's
taken control.
a little bit like you're insuring yourself. It's not.
No, you're right.
But we insure so many things that we don't need to, don't we? My mum insured a dishwasher for
Ian remembers.
years, and we found that mum, she got the thing come through not that long ago, and she says, I've been insuring the. Do you think I should insure that? It's still the family dishwasher, and honestly, she puts it on once a week if she uses it once a week. And if it stopped working, she'd just not bother using it. So I'm like, no, we could have bought 300 dishwashers for the amount. We insure everything else, but not actually what's going to happen to us if anything went wrong.
We do these exclusive deals through Shop on TV, and we do these discounts, and we've decided to do additional discounts today in the hope that we make it really affordable for people. But then we go a step further and we break it down to those monthly payments. So, I'm being flippant, but it's less than £1 a day to get your will in place. And there's lots of things that we spend more than that on. But coming back to your point, you're quite right. There's lots of people will insure our phones, we'll insure our cars. And a lot of people say, well, you have to insure your car. Well, legally, I think you only have to insure it third party, but we all insure it fully comprehensive. Yeah. And we'll definitely insure our pets.
Yeah.
But we'll insure things like our boiler. So we insure all these material things that may or may not go wrong. And a lot of time, never go wrong, and you're going to pay this forever. Whereas we're saying, well, just pay a small amount for 3 or 4 months and do something amazing that is actually going to benefit you and your loved ones.
Definitely.
And it's probably less than insuring your boiler.
I would think so,
You'd be the family would just be devastated because, again, we presume that you can look after a loved one, whether that is your husband or your wife or your partner or whether it's your mum, your dad.
And imagine that's taken out of your hands and you don't have that
legally,
control.
you can't control that. You can't sort the bills out. You can't sort what care home they go. It's completely out of your hands, and again goes to the government. It's just not right.
So important.
It's so important.
Once it is drafted, once you've done the document, is there anything else you need to do?
We help you with all the signing process as well, which is really important.
Yes.
Yeah. We had a real thing with the signing. The signing
They did it wrong.
is really important, isn't it? We didn't do it wrong.
We put a note on Haley's file.
A big star.
We
didn't do it wrong.
Obviously, we didn't know each other at that time, but it was like, Haley and her mum definitely going to be a problem. Guarantee they're going to make a mistake.
D-.
We followed it all because there's loads of really easy sort of editorial to follow videos, and they send everything so you know exactly what you need to do. And we did it all, and we did it all right. But what we didn't know is the lady that had lived next door to Mum for all the years I'd lived there, all the years my mum had lived there. She was a little girl. We didn't know that the name we'd called her wasn't actually her name. So when she signed it her name, her middle name, and her last name, and then she filled it in completely differently with this different. And you noticed.
We've always called her Barbara. Her real name was Fred.
That's it. It was a bit like that. We were like, what? It's not your name.
No.
So it wasn't the name she was born with, and she's never changed her name. So legally, what she'd signed was no good because it wasn't correct.
Yeah,
but you saw that straight away.
It's all well and good doing the document, but you also need to make sure it is signed properly for it to be legal. So it's a hand-holding service all the way through. We don't just do the consultation, give you your documents and say goodbye.
Great.
We actually offer a free validation service. So we will actually validate the documents. Validate the documents and make sure that they are signed correctly for you, so you know that is in place, and should you need it, it's there and ready and you can keep it.
We even politely nag you if you've not signed them.
We do.
Because there's no point going through this process.
No, and not,
No.
So, it is about it.
We've heard situations like that where it's all written down and done, but not signed. So again, it's absolutely pointless, isn't it?
No, we basically, it's from the day you ask us to help you, we'll help you through the whole thing. And we're thereafter right up to the point of need as well.
And then we did this straight away, but you don't need to do it straight away. You register it sort of thing, don't you?
With lasting powers of attorney, and again, that's personal choice. Obviously, you and your mum made the decision. They have to be registered with a government body called the Office of Public Guardian. Now, they charge their own registration fee, but again, compared to the fees that the court protection, they're tiny. I think the most it can be is £82. There are certain remissions where it's £41, and it can actually even be free.
Yeah.
But we can talk to you about all that, because some people say, yes, I'll register it now, and then it's good to go if ever life throws me a curveball. Some people say, well, I'll hang on to it because I might want to change it, because actually my son's going to be 18 next year, and I'd actually like him to be added to it at some point in the future.
Right.
Again, it's all personal. But that's the key to doing this. What you put in place is for you. It's right for you. It's not generic. It's not someone having to attend the court of protection and coming back to a will. It's not just hoping that the government will does what you want it to do, because unfortunately the chances are it won't.
Yeah.
So take control, do something amazing. Send that text tonight. If you've got your phone there now, just send the word will to 66777. It'll secure your book. And you might, actually,
if you're lucky. I got in there first.
Can you? I can't. The table's bigger. I can't kick him.
I'll wait. Yeah.
Now, speaking of which,
I'm sure everyone knows. Look, Charlotte is amazing, but so is anyone in her team.
Well, actually, there's so many 5-star reviews, and we will look at some in a bit. And all the 5-star reviews on a whole don't say Simpler Law was fantastic, though Simpler Law was. They'll say that Charlie was amazing.
or Charlotte was. Look at this one.
Look at that.
It's a fix.
My consultation was done by Charlotte. She was very professional, explained through each stage, making sure it was firstly what I wanted, and also that I understood any advice she gave me. Excellent service. 5 stars. 5 stars for Charlotte. And Simpler Law, experts in the field, but also award-winning when it comes to their field. What are we seeing here, Ian?
You must be so proud of this, and it's because of you and the whole team, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to say it's the team, but I think it's me. It's got nothing to do with me. It's all down to those 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
But it's not just people like Charlotte and her team. Obviously, you're used to speaking to the consultants, but it's obviously all the professional people that do all the drafting as well, even down to the administration staff, because, every document we produce is professionally bound. you know, and it's sent out with all the sign instructions. So
Yeah.
everyone plays their part,
Yeah.
and we get it right. And so, it was a very proud moment for us last year when we were
I
announced
bet.
as
Brilliant.
the State Planning Firm of the Year.
Brilliant.
I might have had one drink too many.
Okay.
No.
Definitely.
We'll have a look at those photos later.
Did you talk even more than you do
Believe it or
normally?
not, those photos are online.
Brilliant.
But no, look, it is a testament to what we do, and that's why I want people to give us that chance almost.
Yeah.
Because if they give us that chance, they'll see how good we are. But at the end of it, ultimately, as I said, it's not our lasting power of attorney. It's not our will.
No.
The document
It's
that
for
you
you.
create is for you. We've got no interest in it ourselves, if that makes sense. We've only got an interest in what is right for you. So we'll give you all the advice in the world, and you'll decide how much of that advice, if any of it, that you take. But at the end of it, you will have a document that's right for you. And certainly when it comes to a will, it's your last act on planet Earth. It's your last gift,
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be a generic thing from the government. People will argue that I haven't worked hard, but I think I've worked hard for everything that I've got, and I want to make sure that my wife and my children are taken care of in the way that is
So
best
important.
for them.
The
And the only
thing
way I
I
can
love
do that is to write a will.
is you want everybody to have that opportunity as well. And you're having that opportunity tonight.
And it's so affordable with these
it's so-
offers.
I thought writing a will would be so expensive, so complicated. It honestly isn't. You sit down with someone like Charlotte and you just talk. You don't even really need any information at all. They'll chat to you and they ask the questions to get the right answers. But I did think as well, not only would it be complicated, which it isn't, it would be very expensive, and it truly isn't, especially if you secure these deals today. The deals we've got are incredible, but they are only up until close of business on Friday. You know you'll forget if you don't do it right now.
Yeah.
So do it right now, because you'll kick yourself if on Saturday you remember and you go and sort, well, I'll get in touch. And that will that is normally £249, but you were going to get for 119 has gone back up.
That's why it's important to do it right now. So the family and estate will that we're looking at there, as Hayley just said, should be £249. The reduction of 40% comes down £100, but they've offered us an extra
I
discount.
think someone twisted their arm,
think
because
they
the 40% was meant to be it, and then we came in tonight, we've got an extra discount, but because it is limited until Friday.
An extra £30 off brings the price down on your will to 119, and on those 4 interest-free flexible payments, you only have to pay £29.75 on your first of 4 payments.
You'll spend more than that on coffee, won't you?
Over the month, easily.
What
Sometimes
did you-
in a week.
What did you pay for a glass of wine the other day?
Oh, let's not talk.
Oh, my word.
£15.50
Can you believe?
for 1 glass of wine.
Where were you? Was it London?
It was London, but
But you know, you
I don't care where it
you
was.
spend that amount so easy. It might even be on chocolate. But you have actually made sure that you've given that last gift to the people you love, because it makes sure what you've worked so hard for, it does go to who you want it to go to, because the government will that will fall in place if you haven't got a legal will not do what you want to happen, and that honestly is the truth. That's in power of attorney. It was just gone into great detail on that. I personally felt, and this is why we know Simpler Law before they worked with us here, because we went to them for the lasting power of attorney for Mun. I think this is so important.
it is as important as a will, I think. £349, the usual price. With that 40% off, comes down to £209. Another discount for you of £20 that brings it down to £189. And that's only £47.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. Like Hayley was saying earlier, that could be the price of a takeaway in the week, couldn't it? For
Easily.
you?
And
£47.25
so
on the
important.
first of 4 payments.
Now, secure the deals tonight, and if you're thinking, well, if you secure the will, and then you kick yourself a bit later when we go into more detail again about lasting power of attorney, you think, oh, why didn't I do the 2 together? Because that was a huge saving of nearly £280. Don't panic. I know the team. If you've secured the deal tonight, they will allow you to have any of these prices. So if you want to go for will and lasting power of attorney, you've got a huge saving. Should be $598. It's down to $358, or is it? No. You've got another £80 off. Now, this is all these extras, these 40%, these £80 off. This is only until Friday at close of business. So you've actually got it down from £598 to £278. And again, splitting the cost, £66.50 is
£69.50.
Sorry, my eyes are a bit funny.
They are a bit funny.
£69.50, and that's the first of those 4 payments. But
You'll also see on the bottom of the screen, the first
This is
250 people get this book, What My Family Should Know. This is a great book.
I think everybody should have this book from working year, from being about 18, because everything that anybody would need to know is in it.
Well, it's all your information, financial information, obviously things like bank accounts and pensions and assets, but also things like passwords, digital accounts, life policies that you can see there.
Yeah, because you probably wouldn't know your mum and dad, all their jobs. They might have life insurances in all sorts of places that you've just got no idea, but it's in this book.
Actually, we should bring in Ian in here, because the reason you brought this about was because you found out some amazing figures of money that's just sat there.
It essentially got born out of our estate administration department. So when I say sometimes we help at the point of need, when someone passes away, one of the first jobs you've got to do is gather in the assets, and it's finding those assets.
All the
So
information.
This helps with doing that. But yeah, what was quite staggering actually is in the UK there's £5 billion of unclaimed pension pots in the UK.
Because people don't know they're there.
No, 5 billion.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
let's
word.
reiterate,
Yeah.
billion.
Well, because I said, all right. At first, I'm like 5 million, what, across the whole UK? And like, no, 5 billion. I was like, oh.
Wow.
But then I thought about it and I'm thinking, well, I don't know all the jobs that my dad had when I was younger. Was he paying into pensions? How would I know? Now, my dad's of a pensionable age now, so I would like to think he's claiming all my pensions. Mind you, knowing my dad, he probably isn't. But that's by the by. But interestingly, life insurance policies as well, paid up life insurance policies haven't been found. £2 billion of unclaimed life insurance policies that should be with your loved ones. And it's believed there's about £850 million in UK bank accounts that just hasn't been found.
It's just sat there.
And people go, well, how does that happen? But think about an account.
That
you might
old
have had.
passbook.
Yeah. And there's even silly things like, did your grandparents or your parents get you some premium bonds when you were a child?
Gosh, yes.
And where's the record of that now? And there's all that money adds up, and all that money should be going to your loved ones.
Of course it should.
This was born out of that, and it just helps you sit down and take stock.
So the first 250 people who secure the deals.
They nearly always go.
Yeah,
so
always.
you need to make sure you're the first, really. So do the deals now.
The pins and the password in there are really,
Yeah.
that, on a personal level now,
Yeah.
because we live in a digital age, it's really easy to lose everything. I quite like, the old photo albums where they all stuck together and
Yeah.
they went a bit yellow
Yeah.
and all that. We don't really have that now.
It's all on your tablet
all
or
in
your
hand.
phone, yeah.
But if you can't access that, all those memories can be
all
lost
those
really easily. It's
personal
devastating.
memories, yeah.
It's absolutely
So it's
devastating.
all in one place if you get that book.
And it makes you think of all those things that are really important, because it's all in that book, and that book is yours if you're the first 250 people. Now, it's so easy to secure the deals tonight. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can speak to someone. Have a little look.
You also don't need any information.
No,
you don't need any documents.
you don't need to go and get papers out. You don't need that book right now. That book's going to be coming to you, so you can then write that through. All you need to know is that you want to write a will, you want the lasting power of attorney, and you want these prices. So secure the deals, whichever way suits you. And I think going on to Simpler Law's website is a great way to do it, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV, because obviously these deals are very special and exclusive to us. But actually, there's a great team waiting on the phone.
Yeah, the team are in the call centre right now, right through till 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600 is the number to ring. You're just ringing to say, I want to write a will, I want a lasting power of attorney. And like Hayley always says, if you decide you want to secure the will tonight and then change your mind and go for both, you'll be able to do that. You'll have secured those prices that we showed you. Or the other way is to text, and this is always the busiest way.
It is always the busiest, because I love those competitions where you just text a letter. I'm going to win again on Friday, £539.
Again,
£539.
Well, it wouldn't be worth it. It costs you that.
539,000. Sorry, yeah, it's probably cost me that actually, because I try every week. Never won
I'm
yet.
12 times
But
a
you
week.
can't not win tonight, because if you text Will, you have secured all those prices that we've told you about, and you haven't got to speak to anybody. You can go straight to bed then if you wish, but do stay with us just to learn a little bit more. And text Will to 66777. Do it now. Don't leave it. Remember, the deals are only till Friday at close of business. And how often do we forget? How many holidays have we missed out on because we didn't do it?
Because you didn't do it.
Your train this week. You didn't do it.
that was me, yeah.
Train this week. Found a great deal. Have you booked it? No, I'm going to do it now. Gone up £40.
£40.
I like the way you've managed to get over missing that holiday. You just let it go.
Yeah, yeah.
I did.
It's not a problem.
Between Christmas and New Year, got the biggest bargain you could have had. And it was there in my basket. And I was like, should we go, should we go, should we go, should we go? Yes, I'm going to book it. Little did I know, didn't read the small print, that the offer finished on the 1st of October. And I went on the 2nd of October. Gone up, it was like 600, 700 pounds. Did we go away between Christmas and New Year? No, we didn't.
Moral of the story, secure the deals right now, whilst you can.
In all seriousness, the only thing we've got is now.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds crass, and if you do put it off till tomorrow, you put it off till the day after, or I might do it in the morning, this, that and the other.
It's next year before you know it.
It doesn't happen because life does get in the way, because then you get a phone call or you go to work or you start looking after kids or whatever. This is honestly one of the best things that you can do, and it doesn't take a long time to do. And as I said, I always say this, but I mean it with absolute sincerity, is no one ever regrets putting a will in place.
No.
Because there's nothing to regret. No one ever finishes a consultation and goes, why did I do that? It's not like an impulse purchase. And as I've said before, if throughout the process, or if we do anything where you go, do you know what, I'm not happy with this, just say, this is not for me, can I have my money back please? And we'll say yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because we only want a happy client.
Got nothing to lose.
There's absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah.
You can only know what you can gain if, in all seriousness, you do speak to someone like Charlotte or a member of a team. The way to do that is to send that text tonight or phone, because the guys are there now.
Yeah.
They're sat across our offices in the UK. They're waiting for your phone call right now. So phone and make them work.
And Charlotte, if they do call tonight, if any viewers call to the call centre, they don't need any documents or
No,
anything,
you don't need anything. You just need to take that first step. We will do everything else. We'll give you a call back tomorrow at a suitable, or later today, should I say. We are in the morning.
Yeah.
Later today or tomorrow. So you just need to take that first step. That's the hardest part. Once you've done that, we'll take you through the rest.
That's the thing we
Please
don't
take
do and put off all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Please take control.
Yeah.
I know we're here and you're going to expect us to say, please do this because we want you to do that. But honestly, of course, we gain you as a client. We won't tell you that's why we're here. But honestly, the people that really gain is you as the client, because what you get from it is phenomenal, and you can't know that till
And
you
why is that? For anyone that's just turning on thinking, well, I've told the kids. I've told the kids what I want to happen. They know that the clock's going to go to so-and-so, the wedding ring, engagement ring's going to so-and-so, and so-and-so isn't getting anything. They all know.
So we've told them.
So they think they've got this peace of mind that everybody knows what they want to happen is going to happen. And they think it's going to happen, but it's not, is it?
No, we live in a land of law, quite rightly so. Sometimes the law isn't quite right, but we live in a land of law. So there's only two outcomes when you pass away. You've either passed away with a will that you've made, whether you've made it with a professional company or basically your own will that has to be signed, dated and witnessed correctly to be valid, or you've passed away without one. And if you pass away without one, then basically the government will is a default position. So every adult in the UK has a will and doesn't perhaps know it.
And that's what we're seeing here, isn't it?
And we didn't know, and the first question on here, and we've failed straight away because we're not married. We've been together 34 years, and because of that, our family know that what's
And
mine
we
is Sean's.
presumed.
Yeah, and Sean's
Well,
is mine.
we
and we
heard
totally
that term,
presumed.
common law husband and
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
But that's not
a
the
thing,
case,
is it?
because the
No
first
legal
question,
standing,
it's neither of our money.
I hear quite a lot from people, if we're having conversations about what I do for a living, it's like, oh, I don't need a will because everything will be okay. Or, the pub quiz champion has told me that everything will be okay because we're common law husband and wife. And it's a little bit disheartening even after all this time, because there is more information out there, but there still isn't enough information out there. And we don't do these shows to scaremonger. We genuinely do these shows to educate, because it's like, if you're listening to me now, you can't ever say in the future that you didn't know there was such a thing as a government will, because you can check this out for yourself. Look at the rules of intestacy. The government put this in place in 1925 so that there is a mechanism that when someone passes away, this is what's going to happen
That's
to
the
everything that you own.
process,
That's
right.
the process.
And I suppose there has to be that, but it
Yeah,
can't
absolutely.
be personally right.
There'd be anarchy if not. You'd be like, well, I want this, I want that. So,
But it can't be personally right for anybody. It's not right for us.
it's not.
It's not right for, we're so different to 100 years ago. 100 years ago, you sort of got married, you stayed together forever, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then you had perhaps 2.5 children.
Like
and,
it or not.
And that's it. Yeah.
But my wife and I at the moment,
I know, yeah.
that's Freudian, isn't it? I don't know what she's going to do to me. So,
I hope she's not watching.
I'm a very lucky man. I'm married.
Good recovery.
Yeah, very good.
To be honest, a lot of people have come up to me and said, Ian, she is punching.
It's shocking.
If you saw my wife, you'd know that is definitely not the case. But in all seriousness, obviously, not obviously, I'm married and we've got 2 children together, so we kind of fit that mould from 1925.
Right, okay.
But I still don't want the government will, because
No.
the government will doesn't say who's going to take care of the will for me. So my wife and I have chosen who are going to be executors, so who's going to deal with the will when we're no longer here. We've also got 2 young boys. I don't want them to inherit when they're 18. So if we pass away, and I hope that doesn't happen, but if we pass away while they're still young, they stand to inherit when they turn 18. Well, if they're anything like their dad, when I was 18, I wasn't responsible enough to make the right decisions with that money. So we've got things that are stage where they can inherit, and they can inherit fully between sort of 23 and 25. That's our personal decision.
So you can specify that?
Yeah, but because we've made a will, we can specify that. So there's all these personal things in, and that's the whole point, is you get the will that's right for you and right for your family. If you don't make your own will, it doesn't care about you, it doesn't care about who administers it, so you don't know who's going to come in and start dealing with it. It doesn't care about anything you may have or not said to your loved ones in your family. It certainly doesn't care about your children or stepchildren, if that's relevant. It doesn't care about pets, because quite a big thing is like, where's the dog going to?
For lots of people.
We have a lot of people go, yeah, the kids can have everything. Now let's talk about the dog. But again, that's because it's personal.
Yeah.
You know, and it certainly doesn't care about specific gifts that can be really important. The number of family fallouts that we've seen because one daughter said, Mum promised me the wedding ring, and you know, and you can remove all ambiguity.
Just write it down.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's what it takes.
You're devastated already, aren't you? And then if what you know was meant to happen
your
isn't
emotions
happening,
here, isn't it?
Of course, everything's
you can see that families will break up. Well, most of us will know a family that has
I want to
to
be really
pieces.
clear, and I want to say something really obvious, that having a will when you've passed away doesn't diminish the grief and doesn't diminish the bereavement,
No.
doesn't diminish the loss. But the one thing that I can guarantee that it does, because we see it, sadly we see it every day because of the size of the company that we are, when someone passes away with the will, what it doesn't do is make it worse. Because then here's a document that your loved one prepared that said, this is now what I want to happen. And that's what happens. If they pass away without a will, that's when a really awful situation then can be made worse, because it's like, what do you mean Dad's son's inheriting? He made it clear that he didn't want to inherit. Or what do you mean? And there's almost like a disbelief, and it's like, you know, we almost get shot as the messenger, because it's not us. We're sort of saying we can help you, but if you didn't have a will, we can't help you administer the will. We've got to help you follow the rules of intestacy. And that means that this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And they'll say, but that's not what they wanted. And it's like...
But it wasn't written down.
Yeah, and that's why, look, honestly, if you're listening to me this morning, do something amazing for yourself and your family. It'll take you 2 seconds to text the word will to 66777. If you speak to someone like Charlotte or a member of her team, I promise you, you won't regret that you sent that text. You just won't.
Yeah, you're
It'll be
taking
amazing what you've
that
done.
first step.
Yeah.
It's so important, isn't it? And we often talk about mixed and blended families, don't we? Because if it's not written down and you've got maybe a second marriage, that can go really wrong, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see more blended families now, but they see each other as one
Yeah,
of
family.
course.
They're not step-sisters and brothers. They're brothers and sisters. They all live together.
Yeah.
So you'd presume again that if there was something happened and the parents died, that it would be split equally to all the children. But that isn't the case, is it?
Not without a will, no. If you'd written the will, and you could make those provisions, but without it, then it is following the rules of intestacy. So if you've got a husband and wife that have got children from previous relationships, if one of them passes away, if the husband passes away, following the rules of intestacy, the first 322,000 will go to the wife, which is all well and good. The wife would then obviously want it to be split between the children, but without a will, it only follows bloodline.
So if
So
she then
So
died,
his children wouldn't get anything
His
when
children
she
wouldn't get
died.
anything. And this is where we can see the family breakup, because her children would then inherit, and as awful as it sounds, all the goodwill in the world, that child's under no legal obligation to give that money
share.
to
No,
anybody
and
else.
awful to put them
we
in
do
that
hear
situation.
we do hear that bit where we'll hear something like, oh, I'm sure the girls will sort it out between
Yeah.
Oh,
themselves.
that's
It's a lot to put on
It's
your
a lot.
family.
Yeah,
especially if somebody's in debt or something. It's
And
a
in
horrible
grief.
situation.
We
to be
don't
in.
really know what... The only people who know what's going on in someone's life are the people that...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even know what's really going on in your own children's life. And, your own child could have a partner who disagrees with that decision.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
yes.
And it's just... And again, it's just that I don't understand why you would want to take that risk.
It can all be avoided.
Yeah, now if this was a really laborious, extraordinarily expensive thing, then I might be able to justify that risk a little bit. but it's not.
No.
And I am going to be serious for a second. Actually, speaking to Charlotte, it's not that unpleasant.
Oh, you're terrible.
It's on fire tonight.
But I always find it difficult to convey how this 3-4 pages of a document
Yeah,
can be
it's so powerful.
so important.
Life-changing
It's-
for
yeah,
you
it-
and your
yeah.
family.
It's
Yeah.
because it's yours.
Yeah.
You'd
bespoke for
absolutely,
you.
yeah. And I don't know what happens when you die, but I'd love to think that Dad, and I do think that he's looking down on me all the time. But can you imagine looking down on your family falling apart because you didn't get that will done? And you told them exactly what you wanted to happen, and they know what you wanted, but it's not happening because that government will. It will take over, and it's out of everybody's hands. And you could have solved all that upset. It's your last gift to your loved one. And you've worked so hard all your life for what you own. And sometimes you think you haven't got anything, but you've probably got a property, you've got a car, you've probably got, a family heirloom.
Or just those special sentimental pieces that you want to pass down to a certain member of the family. Well, if you write it down in your will. In fact, with a will, you probably think, oh, it's just about money, but there's so much else you can do, isn't there?
So much more. A lot of people assume that it's just distribution, which is a huge part of it, but there's so much more you can do. As you've said just then, family heirlooms or little trinkets that you think are really important that you can actually stipulate you've said a wedding ring to a daughter, or it could be a family clock.
Yeah, we've got a
someone
clock
specific.
that's meant to go down the family line.
Exactly right. So specific gifts you can actually stipulate in your will. And Ian, you mentioned previously about ages children inherit.
Yeah.
I'd never thought of that.
No.
But if an 18-year-old got everything there, and you see it with lottery winners, don't you? And then all of a sudden they've spent it all,
All
it's
the
gone.
money goes, yeah.
We've all been 18.
Yeah. Well,
Ian especially.
Well, Jeannie and I had to do something else as well because the boys are under 18. We've also named guardians in our will.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, if both parents died and you haven't got a will, what happens then to the children?
You're just relying on the right person to step forward in that scenario. It's losing that control again. By writing a will, you can stipulate your guardianship clause in there and state who you trust. You've got that peace of mind. Without that will, again,
Well, if you've got two sets of grandparents, they both want
upset.
This is the thing. They've got to step forward.
It's cutting through the ambiguity or cutting through. It's basically, this is why it's selfless, is because you're making it clear.
Yes.
Your wishes.
This is where we wanted our children
And
to
some
go,
people might think, well, I've got godparents for my children, so obviously it's the godparents that then look after the kids. And we've got so many godchildren, my goodness, we'd have to have flats. But that's not the case, is it? You don't.
That's not legal.
Not a legally binding.
No, it's a perfectly reasonable assumption to make again, and I totally get it. But obviously, a godparents, it's a religious position. It's not a legal position again. Now, it may be that those are the people you would want to be the guardians, but that's why you have to name them in a will to be the guardian. So you have to make it legally clear. Now, it may be that you do this again and hope that that it's not going to be needed, but if you passed away and you needed to nominate the guardians, you want to make sure that it is the people that you want it to be. Otherwise, you do get arguments. We have seen grandparents arguing over it, or we have seen people come forward and say, well, I am the godparents, but then the best friends have turned up and said, well,
they wanted me to look after
you were godparents 3 years ago, but we're better friends now.
gosh.
And it's almost like they're fighting for these children, and actually, that's not what anyone would want.
And at the heart of it, you've got these under 18 children that are grieving for their parents.
Dealing with all that.
Deep down, if you were asked the question, whilst you don't want to think about it, Jeannie and I didn't want to think about seeing our boys grow up, but we looked at each other and we both said the same names, and they said, absolutely not, we're not having your children. And of course, we spoke to the couple and they said, it's a nice thing. And I said, well, think about it, because we're actually asking you to have...
It's a big thing,
2 babies.
Yeah.
So unless you plan to start a family, there was a moment of... but they're very... Thankfully, it gave me and Jeannie peace of mind. We know that our boys would go to someone that they love and that they'd be loved in return. And that's
and have the same values as you.
And again, it's something I think you don't think about.
Planning for the worst and hoping for the best.
Yeah,
obviously, because of what I do for a living, we talk about wills and lasting power of attorney all the time. But when my wife and I, when Jeannie and I put all those in place, we don't dwell on it now. It's just
it's done.
They're securely stored. They're all signed. They're all validated. We know that
it's a
what
weight
needs
off
to
your
happen,
shoulders, isn't it?
We know that what needs to happen will happen if life throws a curveball or when the inevitable happens. I know that Jeannie's taken care of, I know the boys are taken care of. I've done my bit. I've done everything I can for them.
And I think it's so important as well for everybody to have a will.
I was going to say for all
because,
and everyone.
For us, really important because we're not married. So, you know, the government will, no good for us. I wouldn't have got Sean's money, Sean wouldn't have got mine or that, you know, part of the house or whatever. If you're married with children from different families, again, it's not going to instantly go to all of the children. It'll go down the bloodline of the last surviving parent. The government will is not right for anybody at all. But there's a story I want you to hear because this really shook me. Because I think as a single person, I might think, oh, you know, well, I don't need a will. You know, I haven't met my partner yet. I'm not married. We haven't had children. When I have a partner, when I get married, perhaps I'll look at writing a will. And there's a story you said, and it's really always resonates with me because it was a younger man who died far too early, and he hadn't written a will because he was, well, we don't know why he didn't write a will, but in my head, I think...
You could guess.
Yeah.
You can have a guess, yeah. He was only in his 40s.
Yeah,
so,
wasn't expecting anything to happen.
No, you know, and that's why I say you can only do it now. Yeah, it stuck with me, which is why when I tell the story, it was a hard watch and a hard, because basically this young man, sudden death, unexpected. He'd never married, he'd never had children, he was quite successful in his field. If I remember correctly, he was a medical professional, he was like a consultant. And the story was actually told by his mom that had survived him and his brother that had survived him. And the backstory is basically that when this gentleman who'd passed away when he was born, his dad decided that he was going to leave. So again, that's his prerogative. We don't know what that decision was, but that was his decision, and he never had any relationship with his family, so there was no birthday cards. He had nothing to do with his son. But unfortunately, when his son passed away, he'd not made a will, so he died intestate, so he got the government will. And the first question that was asked of him via the government will, because that's the law, is it doesn't matter what people think should have happened, what legally had to happen was he married in a civil partnership? The answer was no. The next question that the rules of intestate ask is, did he have children? The answer was no. The next question was, did he have parents, or does he have parents? Which, of course, the answer was yes, and we knew the answer was yes because his mom was telling the story. But basically, his mom then, I mean, it's as a parent, it's a really difficult thing to think about losing your child. But then it was made worse because his mom had to track down her ex-husband, who was agency for decades, and say, our son's passed away and you're entitled to half of everything that he got.
Devastating.
Now, any logical, reasonable person, without second-guessing why he didn't have a will, can presume that he wouldn't have made that provision for his father that he'd never met. But that's the reality when people shake their head and go, well, that's not fair and that's not right. That, unfortunately, that's the nature of the government will. It's a series of yes-no questions, and quite often it ends up, that's not what the person would want. Yeah. That was a really difficult thing to see and why it sticks, because everyone does that. Well, that's not right.
It's devastating.
And you can't, you know, don't speak ill of the dead, and you can't blame him because did he know that's what was going to happen? But who wakes up on a Saturday morning and goes on the internet and goes...
And looks,
Yeah. So that's why we do these shows, because I like to think that someone's watching this right now and thinks, well, that could be me.
Yeah.
I'll speak to Charlotte and I'll fix that.
Yeah.
And you'll fix it for less than what you would spend on coffee in a week. I did my pretentious purchase this week.
Go on.
It's gone up. I don't want to be too pretentious, but I had a coconut vanilla latte.
Oh, look at you.
I know. And then when she said the price, I went, no, just one. But you're right, it's very, very easy to spend a lot of money on things that we'd like to buy. And look, let's be really honest about this. No one today, even if you watch this show now, woke up this morning and thought, I want to spend money on a will. But I promise you the value that you get for it is worth every single penny.
Now, I think we should mention, and we will show you the prices again in a second, but I think we should mention templates, because a lot of people might think, well, I've got a will because I got a template.
I bought a template, yeah.
But
what do you think of those, Ian?
I like them.
I daren't ask, really. His face just turned.
Did it drop?
Steam come out of his ears.
He was all happy until you said that.
It's a strange thing. We live in a world now where we can do lots of things. There's lots of information out there.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of platforms you can go to, and you know, and I use it often. How do I change the battery in my key fob? Well, look, there's a video for that. So there's lots of things that you can do. And look, a template. I'm going to be reasonable about this. A template, if you're sort of capable of just following some really basic instructions, will of course allow you to map out what you want to happen, but won't give you any advice.
No.
How do you know that you're making use of all the tax allowances? how do you know whether you've actually put those gifts in at the right stage? Because if you're writing these wills as a couple, what people don't realise, we use terms like first death and second death. There's a throwaway thing in the office because it's what we do as a profession. Clients want, and they say, what do you mean first death and second death? Well, it's at what point do you want something to happen? And what people then tend to do is they start writing in lay terms, which might make the will even unworkable.
So not the right terminology,
No.
not legally binding.
No, and our wills are very plain English, but there are certain things in there that mean that it's going to be accepted by the court and mean that it works. There's a term, for example, called per stirpes, which a lot of people might say, what's per stripes mean?
Yeah.
It's Latin for per branch, but it just means that it guarantees that your inheritance will stay down your bloodline if that's what you want to happen.
Right.
But we explain all of that to you. It's not overcomplicated
No,
at
it's
all.
not.
But when you write your own will, you won't have that knowledge.
No, you won't know.
So here's the harsh reality. Unless you're a qualified will writer, why are you writing your own will? I don't service my own car because I don't know how engines work. I don't pull my own teeth because I'm not a dentist. And I'm not saying this to be facetious.
It's so true.
Charlotte is the professional. Charlotte's got the experience. Charlotte will hold your hand, and not in a patronising way, through the whole process and give you all the advice that you need to make an informed decision. And by the way, these templates aren't free. So you're basically paying for something, and then you've got all the responsibility for making it right. Whereas Charlotte's got the responsibility.
Guess
what? Charlotte's insured.
Of course, yeah.
And not just for writing your document. We have to insure for all kinds of things. She comes around the office.
You've just been really nice, hadn't you?
I know.
I couldn't let it go.
I stopped because I thought, oh no, he's being nice. I'll stop. I'll let him carry on.
Go,
I should have stopped him, really, shouldn't I? And there is a story about they were grandparents, weren't they? And they wrote their own will, and so they knew exactly what they wanted to happen. But because they hadn't written it right, it went horribly wrong, didn't it?
It was the cash gifts. What they wanted to do is give the grandchildren cash, and it was really obvious. And when you spoke to the family, it was really obvious that the cash was meant to go to the grandchildren after they'd both passed away. But they were from an era where the man owned everything. So he owned the house, he owned everything, and they'd done template wills. And when he passed away, he'd written the cash gifts in the will, in the template, as what we would call first death. So in other words, before he left anything to his wife, his will said that his grandchildren were to get £20,000 each. And when he wrote the will, there was only 3 grandchildren. When he died, there was 8. So suddenly his will now says there's £160,000 to go to his grandchildren. And the only way that £160,000 could get to them is if the house that his wife was still living in was sold to give to the grandchildren. So it's all of a sudden very messy, very complicated. And you can imagine money, children, bereavement, it's all exploding. We only found out about it because they phoned us to ask if we could help. And in a roundabout way, we sort of did, but it was very, very messy. And when we know that we could have done that correctly for not much more than he probably paid for the template, and explained, because lots of people, if they want to leave cash gifts, quite often, unless it's a small amount to charity, something like that, if there's significant cash gifts, the sensible thing, if you're a couple, is to leave that gift after you've both passed away, so you know that the survivor doesn't need it.
You wouldn't know that, would you, when you were writing it down?
No,
you wouldn't
if you
even
were doing
think
it
about
yourself.
that.
But it was worse than that because they'd copied each other's will. So actually what ultimately would have happened if his wife then died, basically everything was going to end up going to the grandchildren and nothing to their children, which was their intention.
God.
Their intention was to leave everything to each other, then
My hair's gone in.
then everything down to their children in equal shares after the £20,000 had gone to each grandchild. But obviously things had moved on, and it was written, well, bluntly, it was written wrong because he'd not taken any advice. But it'd be like watching me trying to change the oil on an engine or something.
Well, it's so true, and it's just I just hope we tell these stories, and they're true stories, because I think it makes you think, oh my goodness,
That alarm bell, isn't it?
I didn't realise. We presumed being together 34 years would mean that what was mine was Sean's, what Sean's is mine. We've been together forever. But that is not with the government, because there is a will. I think what you think is, if I haven't written a will, everybody knows what I want to happen. I've told the kids, I've told our family, but sadly, if you haven't written a will, there is a will, isn't there? It's
Well,
just
yeah.
not the one you want.
It's called the rules of intestacy. We call it the government will, and it's a series of yes/no questions. The problem is it doesn't follow what you would want to happen.
It's no good if you're not married. It's no good if you've you've got a mixed
blended
family
mixed
that's
family,
with
second
step brothers and
marriages.
sisters from
doesn't
different
care about
partners.
you.
It doesn't
Yeah,
care about you if
that's a
you're on
great
your
way to
own. It
describe
doesn't
it.
care about anybody, does it?
It's a default position. Without it, there'd be anarchy, because there has to be
When
a
you
way
say
to
that, of course, there
distribute.
has to be something. And how do you write? Because we would all have completely different wills,
Yeah.
wouldn't we?
Yeah.
It's just not personal.
No. There's only 4 of us in the studio this evening having this conversation, but our situations are all very, very different.
Yeah.
So how can one set of rules be right for everybody? And
No.
it just isn't. And in some cases, it's more devastatingly wrong than others.
Well, when you see that, you can understand why families break up when a loved one dies, and what they all knew was meant to happen isn't happening, and then they fall out.
All you've got to do is write it
Yeah.
down. All you've got to do is write a will.
And price-wise, I think we put a lot of things off for lots of reasons. But I think with a will, for me, we thought it was really expensive. We also thought it was really complicated. It was a bit scary for me. It's so easy when you deal with simpler law.
But it could be just getting round to it. That's the other thing.
Well, yeah, you
Everything
put things
gets
off.
in the way, doesn't it?
I'll do it after. Oh, we've got the kids. Kids are going, to football next week, and then we've got then we've got a holiday. I'll do it when
And
we
it
get
gets
back off
further and
holiday. But when you get
further
back off holiday, you've got all that washing, and then all of a sudden it's Christmas, and you're like, well, how did that happen? And you still haven't done it. My mum was having a patio done for about 5 years, and the thing we didn't do was get round to asking someone to come round and have a look at the patio and give us a price. Kept putting it off. Mum was nearly tripping in the backyard because it was all uneven. And then when we actually did that one thing, which is you tonight securing those deals, we got someone to come round to give us a price. All of a sudden, 2 months later, new patio and peace of mind that mum's
And that's
safe.
what it's all about. It's starting.
Yeah,
it's
is.
making that first step. Now, we do mention reviews quite a lot because there are so many great reviews when it comes to simpler law. Lots of people get mentioned. Lots of the team get mentioned. This company provides an excellent first-rate service. Lawrence, the gentleman I dealt with, was outstanding, knowledgeable, taking the time to listen and answer the questions promptly. I was made to feel a valued customer by him. And then that nothing was too much trouble. It's simple, it's straightforward. You don't need any documentation. It's about taking that first step. And it's about the extra special deals that we've got for you today. Working alongside Simpler Law, we've even got extra discounts, whether it's wills or lasting power of attorney that we're talking about. So let's take a look at the offers that we've got for you. And first of all, what we've been talking about, if you want to write a will, suggested retail price, and this is a good price at £249, but we've got 40% off. It comes down to £149, but like I said, extra discount for you today, and these extra discounts last until the close of business on Friday, but we would say take that step now. Secure that deal, secure that appointment.
You'll
You
kick
will.
yourself, won't you, if you think, well, I could get it for £119, and then on Saturday you get in contact and it's gone to £249. Why did I do that? Do not miss out on, and we do it often. And the great thing is, you're not even spending £119.
No, because Simpler Law will offer you 4 interest-free payments, and with your will, it's just £29.75 on your first of 4 interest-free
I
payments.
bet you spend more than that on coffee in possibly a week. I say a month, but possibly a week.
Yeah.
It's so little money to make sure what you've worked so hard for all your life actually goes to the people you want it to go to, and doesn't go perhaps to the people you don't want it to go to. Now, we're going to talk about lasting power of attorney in a minute, and if perhaps you haven't heard of that, or perhaps you have and you have realised it's really important, or I think just as important really as a will, we've got an incredible deal on this.
And we are going to explain, as Hayley said, exactly what a lasting power of attorney is. Should be £349. With 40% off, it comes down to £209. But the Simpler Law team have given us that extra discount, so it comes down to £189. And with those 4 interest-free payments, £47.25 on your first of 4 payments. Like we were saying earlier, that's the cost of a takeaway, isn't it?
Yeah, our takeaway is nearly always more than that. And honestly, if you think about just a night out, what you spend on a night out, and when you discover what a lasting power of attorney is, this is how I was introduced to Simpler Law. We got it for Mum. and they were amazing, and they made it so easy. It's just so important, I think. And actually, you might have secured the will deal, and then you might sit and watch us talk through the lasting power of attorney and think, oh, why didn't I do the will and lasting power of attorney? As long as you secure the deals before Friday at the end of business, I would say just do it now. You will get all the prices you see on the screen. If you decide to change from just a will to the lasting power of attorney, you've got a huge saving there.
Yeah, the biggest saving on that combination that you see there. It should be £598. 40% off means £358, but we've got another £80 off that bundle deal. So it comes down to $278, and with those flexible interest-free payments, just $69.50 on your first of 4
And
payments.
those extra deals wasn't meant to be, we didn't know about that until we came in tonight. So you've got extra discount tonight. We were going for that 40% off, so it's well worth actually making sure you secure the deal. That's all you're doing today. You don't need any information, and if you are the first of the first 250 people, and these always disappear really quickly, you will get this fabulous book worth £25. And this is, I think everybody, once you start working, should have all this information in one place.
Well, you're recording everything in one place, so if someone does unfortunately pass away, you can find everything straight away, from life policies to things about the house and the home, utility bills in there, all the providers that you need to contact, mobile phones, and all your digital accounts, so passwords and PIN numbers.
It could be vital that someone gets onto your phone to find photographs or gets onto your tablet to find emails. So important, and it's a brilliant book, and you will miss out if you don't make sure you're one of the first. So please just secure the deals, and that book is yours. And it's so easy to secure those deals, because all you need to do, whatever's best for you. You don't need to speak to anybody. You can take a look. You can either go onto the website simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV, because of course we've got special extra discounts.
Yep.
So do make sure you do the /shop on TV, or jump on the phones. The teams are there till 3 a.m.
Yeah, right through till 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600 is the number. You don't need any documents. You don't need any information with you. You're just going to answer a couple of questions and secure those offers we talked about, and then they'll get back to you later on to secure an appointment to sort out whether it's your will or your lasting power of attorney. Or the most popular way is always the texting service. Just text the word will, WILL. You don't need to speak to anyone, to 66777.
Your phone's probably right there. It's probably in your hand right now. You're perhaps watching us and doing things on your phone. You might be watching us on your phone. Just do it now. If you leave it till tomorrow, sadly, tomorrow never comes, does it? All of a sudden, it's Monday, it's Wednesday, it's August, and then
summer,
it's
Christmas.
November, and then it's Christmas, then it's Easter, and you haven't done it. It's just that first step. Secure that deal and take that first step to make sure what you want to happen, your last gift to your loved ones, actually will happen. Because sadly, remember, if you don't write a will, there is a government will out there that will fall into place. If you normally use our website, you can, and if all you need to do is go onto our page and then go right sort of middle-ish down, and it's right there.
Yeah, you'll see our on-screen partners. Just click on the Simpler Law logo. It takes you through to those offers that we've been talking about. Just fill out that form, very basic form. And again, the team will get back to you, but not before 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can also use the QR code that we have on screen. And that QR code, it'll go directly through to those Simpler Law offers. And you'll see that QR code just there.
Just by me then. I'm looking after it.
Now, we've talked
can use
about
it.
wills, and we're going to talk more detail now about lasting powers of attorney.
Well, this is how we personally knew Simpler Law before they came to us here on Shop on TV, because I did Mum's lasting power of attorney with them. And honestly, me and Mum worry about absolutely everything. Terrifies us to do anything like this, but we knew we needed to put this in place. And as you listen, you'll realise why it is so important. Simpler Law made it so simple. And though we thought we needed all these answers and we needed all this information, it actually wasn't the case. If you honestly, Simpler Law virtually know the questions to find out the answers that are already there. But what you need to know is what lasting power of attorney actually is.
Yeah, and Charlotte, if you can explain to anyone, I think a lot of people have heard of the term now,
Yes.
but they don't actually know what it means.
Yeah, so power of attorney, these are documents for if life throws you that curveball and you do lose your capacity through ill health or a freak accident, so you can no longer make your own decisions. powers of attorney are documents where you nominate who you trust to step into your shoes in that scenario and make those decisions on your behalf.
And it may be that you've become poorly. Dementia's huge now, isn't it? Or it might be a very terrible accident and you can't look after yourself
lost
anymore.
Exactly. I think a lot of people relate to powers of attorney with the elderly because you say with things like dementia, when you're older, you too tend to get more ill health. But these are relevant for anybody over the age of 18 because, like you say, you have that freak accident, life throws you that curveball.
My friend did, in her 40s, and you don't expect it, but so important.
Exactly. These are documents that you hope you never need, but you do them now so that if the worst should happen, you've got them there for those people to step in. And these are people that you trust. So just like your will, these are personal documents to you. It's your choice of who those people are that actually make those decisions for you. So it's really important.
With a will, we presume what we want to happen happens. And I think it's the same with lasting power of attorney. Of course, I would look after my husband if something happened to him. Of course, I would look after my mum. I do now. So I would step into her shoes and look after her if she couldn't do it herself. But by law, there's no way I can.
No, exactly right. So there's two types of documents for powers of attorney. So, for example, the first one is property and financial affairs. So you, as you just said with your mum, you think that
I pay her bills.
Yeah, you pay her bills. You can do all of that if she loses her capacity. But right now, if you went to the bank without your mum and said, I need to access this bank account, the first thing they're going to ask you is, are you the account holder? They're going to do data protection. And if you're not that person, that's it. They won't discuss anything further with you. So if that person's then lost capacity, they're even more vulnerable.
Of course,
They've actually got even more to protect at that point. But these things don't stop. Bills need to still be paid. Property still needs to be managed. All of the finances keep going. So by having the power of attorney in place and choosing those people, whether it be children, parents, friends, whoever that would be, those people can actually go to the bank with that document.
So essentially, they become you,
They become
don't
you.
they? Yeah.
I need to manage this account. They can pay your bills. They can manage your finances. They can sell your property. All of the things that you would normally do on a day-to-day basis, which we take for granted, really, because we can do those things. They can actually step in and keep going for you if you're unable to.
So that's the first one we're talking about, but there are two different types with lasting power of attorney.
Yeah.
And I think this second one is just as important. We came just for the first to do that for Mum. And then when we spoke about the second, which you're going to now, I was like, my goodness, this is just as important, Mum. We need to do both
more
of these.
Definitely.
Personal, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So it's health and welfare, the second power of attorney. So two separate documents, your finances and then your health and welfare. So this one, it can be the same people, it can be different, but these people can decide where you're living. So let's say you've chosen your children. If they want you to live at home with them, they can make that choice if they want to care for you. If you need to go into care, they can decide where that is, so it's local to them, for example, or a care home that you may have chosen because you've actually had that conversation with them. And even down to what you're wearing, what you're eating, which again, we take for granted on a day-to-day basis, but it's really personal to you and it's things your loved ones will want to continue to do for you if you're a vegetarian.
So important.
If you like your hair done a certain way, if you like your nails being done, these things can happen if you've got these documents in place. They're really, really powerful. And if you haven't got them, then these people that you trust lose that power.
And there's a story that comes to mind, and it's about a lady she was a nurse, and she took her mum. She was taking her mum home for Christmas, wasn't she? But it wasn't seen to be like that.
Well, she broke her out of the care home effectively with.
Because she didn't have permission as such.
No, she didn't. So of course the care home reported her as, for all intents and purposes, kidnapped.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone knew. Logic prevails again. Well, this is her daughter. She wants to do something lovely for Mum.
Yeah, best
bring
interest.
her home for Christmas Day. She's a nurse, so she's used to caring for people. She's in the best hands. There must be a reason that her mum's in care. So people don't very rarely volunteer to go into a care home. Life's thrown them a curveball, and the best place for them is a care home because they need that level of care. And obviously, this one Christmas, this nurse decided that she was going to bring Mum home, but obviously didn't have the authority to do that. If you think about it logically, what authority do we have over our parents to do that?
Yeah.
She was in the care system. She was being looked after by the care professionals. Next thing, they went to a room, she's not there. So yeah, the police were called.
Don't.
So they caught up with her in a Sainsbury's car park. And that's not isolated. There are literally hundreds of these stories out there because, again, people don't think they're doing anything wrong. And of course, sort of morally, they're not. But again, it's back to the legality of it. You don't have the authority to do that. You can't just take your mum out of the care system. You can't just walk into a bank, and we know that. Sometimes the understanding of the monetary side of it, we get, because we know that money makes the world go around, and we know that we couldn't access people's bank accounts without the correct authority. The health and welfare, it's called health and personal welfare, is a very, very personal document, which I agree with you, Hayley, is as important, but for different reasons, as a financial one.
Yeah.
Because it's about how you're cared for. But both these documents, the important thing, again, is it's kind of the selflessness of it, but also the control, because you're called the donor, so you're going to donate your power to someone or to a group of people, but you choose that person. You trust your husband, you trust your partner, you trust your daughter, you trust your son. You make that decision. If you don't have that document in place, you've not left any authority, you've not donated your power, and then it's unknown what's going to happen and who's going to step in and look after you. So,
And what does happen? So say, you know, a loved one could be a husband, a wife, your parents, freak accident, poorly. How do you take control if you haven't got a lasting power of attorney?
and I think it's always interesting how we pose that question, because it's how do you do something? Well, you can't do anything because you've lost capacity. So you're actually relying on someone that knows you, hopefully loves you, and is the person you would have chosen if you could, to actually apply for something called a deputyship order through the Court of Protection. So that's why I say it's unknown, because you haven't taken control of that situation because you haven't got that document. So you're hoping that the right person, or someone you'd have chosen for yourself, goes to the Court of Protection, applies for something called a deputyship order, and as you can see on the screen there, just to apply for that, just the fee alone is £408.
Just for the application.
Just for the application, £100 for the assessment fee, hearing fee of £494, and then because you're actually under the supervision of the court, they charge an annual supervision fee as well.
And this is if you do it yourself, Ian, as well, without any advice.
Yeah, and truthfully, the professional advice that goes on top of that, which most people have to turn to because they're not familiar with the courts, they're not familiar with the paperwork, runs into even more thousands of pounds beyond that. It's not unusual for court of protection applications to cost an individual £4,000 to £5,000.
And you've got to find that, because you can't use
Correct.
your partner's money, or you can't use your parents' money, or you can't, that's money you've got to find.
And I'm going to say something a little bit controversial, because obviously the amount that costs is horrific. And again, if you had the crystal ball, you wouldn't hesitate paying sort of £40+ a month for the next 4 months. Power of attorney,
without a doubt,
compared to thousands, and also knowing that you are guaranteeing that it's the right people to act. But it's not the money with the Court of Protection that's the biggest problem, in my opinion. It's the length of time that process takes. The applications are taking in excess of 12 months to be heard and to be finalised. So
surely your loved one could have possibly died in that time.
Yeah.
And you've been wasting your time trying to sort that, rather than sitting by them and looking after it.
So the contrast again is, if you've taken the time to make a lasting power of attorney, you've spoke to someone like lovely Charlotte, you've said, look, this is what I want to do, these are the people I want, we give you that document, you sign it, all gets validated. That document does have to be registered with the body called the Office of Public Guardian. Once it's registered with the Public Guardian, your attorneys can act, and you know it's your person that's done that. If you don't do that, you don't know who's going to go to court protection, if anybody. So that's a problem in itself. And then they've got to find the money to go through that process, and then it's going to take anywhere up to a year or beyond in some cases, depending on the process, and it might not always be successful. And that's just it's just a headache.
Heartbreak.
That's again all avoidable.
And your heart's broken already, isn't it? And then you've got to try and then deal with
the two, I use the word saddest advisor, the two saddest departments, if you like, that we deal with is the estate administration is sad because someone's passed away. And as I said, having a will in place doesn't make that bereavement easier, but it doesn't make it worse. The saddest thing is when we're dealing with rules of intestacy to help clients deal with that, because that's when it all sort of starts to fall apart. And our Court of Protection department, where we're helping people go through this process because someone has been incapacitated, that's really hard as well, because they're frustrated that they can't help their loved one, and obviously we're trying to facilitate it through the court as quickly as possible. But whilst we're better with the paperwork than a lay person, if you like, we're still beholden to how quick the courts work.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And what we know for a fact is all of that's avoidable by speaking to someone like Charlotte.
And it's a bit like wills, where you presume what you want to happen is going to happen, and it's not, because if you haven't written a will, there is a government will. But it's the same with lasting powers of attorney. You presume you can sort it all out, but you honestly
You've got to go to court.
just
You've
can't,
got to go to
can
court,
you?
yeah.
Just that term, you've got to go to court.
Yeah.
There's never anything positive about
And
it.
with
so-
all that personal stuff
Yeah.
going on with
You've
the
got
person.
to prove that, and understandably, this is now a vulnerable person. So your loved one is deemed as vulnerable, and understandably so, because they've lost capacity, they can't make decisions for themselves. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to go to the court of protection. So the court of protection make you prove that you are the right person, whether you're a husband, a wife, a son or a daughter.
And that blew me away. We spoke about a husband and a wife because I always think about mum and things, but actually husband and wife, joint bank accounts, you'd think it'll all be all right, but it's still not all right, is it?
No, a joint asset, both of you have to have capacity to access it jointly.
So even a joint account would be frozen.
Yeah, the British Banking Association make it very clear that it has to be frozen
both have to
because
commission.
obviously you both aren't active in it. So
Which you just wouldn't think for a minute,
No.
would you?
No, not
Because
at all.
I always think lasting power of attorney, older people, but actually it's so important.
Again, for everybody.
For everybody.
For everybody, yeah.
this is why it's so important to take professional advice as well, because we've seen people that have you can try and do these yourself, like you can try and do anything yourself, and we've seen people where they've gone, oh, I've got a lasting power of attorney, but they've only named one attorney, and that one attorney lives in Canada
Yeah.
Which
because it's the son.
Yeah.
But what they've not realised is actually, and we've seen situations where people have got a jointly held property, but they've only named one attorney, and that creates extra work because you need two to deal. You can only know what you know, so please speak to someone like Charlotte.
An expert.
Let us
yeah.
do it right for you. Let us
Take
give
the
you
first
advice.
step.
You tell us what you want, and we tell you the best way to do it. And
Brilliant.
you either take our advice or you go, you know what, I'll
Yeah.
leave it.
it's a
It's up to you.
hand-holding service.
Yeah.
It is.
Honestly, this is why we know Simpler Law. We did lasting power of attorney for mum. And me and mum are the most terrified, worrying, wittering people in the world. I thought mum was worse, but I think actually I'm turning
You're
into
getting
her.
there, yeah.
So we are both honestly as
good.
bad as each other. Panic about everything, worry about everything, guilty for everything. You know, if there's a police siren going, it's me, I did it, what did I do? You know, and it drives me mad, but I can't be any different. So we were really worried when we sat down for the video call to actually discuss mum's lasting power of attorney. Oh my goodness. It was so easy. We thought we'll probably have to find loads of information. It was just a simple chat like we're having tonight.
Yeah.
And because Simpler Law know what they need to know from you, they ask the right questions, and you've got the
You've
answers.
already
you
got
don't
those
even
answers
realise.
that you need. Simpler Law are really renowned for great reviews as well, great customer
Well, you get really
reviews.
close to the people you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I deal with two ladies, and they became really good friends. And not at any point did I feel I was asking a silly question that I couldn't email because I'd forgotten to ask something. They really go at your pace, and nothing is too much trouble.
Got a great review to share with you actually from Linda, and Linda had both the will and the lasting power of attorney. This is what Linda said. I'd like to thank Shane for all his help while sorting out my will and power of attorney. He was most helpful and patient, answering all my questions. Thank you again, Shane. I will most certainly recommend your company to family and friends who haven't already got themselves sorted. In fact, on that note,
I was just thinking the
we've
same.
become a bit evangelical when it comes to wills and
yeah.
powers of attorney. To our friends who we knew, because we discussed over dinner one night, have you got a will? No, you haven't got one. You really need to get one. And we talked to them about it, and they've spoke to you, Charlotte, didn't they?
And the first thing they said when we were like, it's so important you have a will, you just don't realise they're not married like us. It's not what you think is going to happen isn't going to happen. And they were worried that what they needed to do was too complicated.
Yeah.
Charlotte did it, no problem whatsoever.
And that's not the fact. You've dealt with so many different scenarios that nothing's going to be too complicated.
No,
is
it isn't. And we don't also take for granted that this could be the first time that a client is writing their will. It could be the second time.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what that is. It's still really, really important. So we don't lose the fact of that either. But as we've said already, we've got all the questions. You've got all the answers. Nothing is too big. We will always find a solution for you. We'll give you the advice. And as Ian said previously, whether you take that advice or not is entirely up to you.
It's your
But we
decision.
will only produce that document for you when you are happy.
And
It's
they-
at your pace.
And it is, yeah, because they took their time, didn't they? Every time we're around, have you sorted it? No, we're talking to, have you done it? No, we're talking, and they have done it now, haven't they?
They have done it,
Yeah. But we're all the same, aren't we? Our producer is exactly the same. She's got Charlotte's email on
She's
her.
emailed you tonight.
Oh, she's emailed you back.
And that's the point. It's taking that first step.
We're so busy, aren't we? You know, we're so busy that we put things off?
I make myself laugh because I've never got time to do the important stuff or the self-care. I'm at an age where I'm falling to pieces now, and I've been told by health professionals, you need to look after yourself a little bit better. I'm like, I couldn't possibly go to the gym and do those weights.
Ain't got time.
And yet I can look at my phone for half an hour.
So true.
And just go down a rabbit hole.
They call it death scrolling.
Doom scrolling, whatever.
Doom scrolling.
And look, I'm not belittling this, but for less time than you probably spend looking at your phone,
So true, yeah.
or even watching one episode of a soap opera, you can do something phenomenal.
You could have done your will.
Yeah.
Sorted it.
You can always make time, and it's so important, but you'll only know how important it is if you do speak to someone like Shane, like Lawrence, like Charlotte, and then you'll realise why we get the 5-star reviews, which personally I'm really proud of when I see those.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's lovely because it shows.
I know you're really cheeky to Charlotte, but I know you really are passionate about
proud.
Proud is the right word.
For another pair. I'm proud of everyone, and I'm proud of what we do.
You should be.
We've got over 250,000 clients, and we know that when we produce these documents for our clients, that there's a little bit of something amazing happened, which might sound really cheesy to people, but you can only know what you know. And when you've got your own will, you'll know exactly what I mean. If you haven't done your own will, you haven't considered lasting power of attorney. If you're listening to me now, the planets have probably aligned. There might have been something at some point where you've gone, I should probably make a will, but I won't do it now, Lots of our clients that do get in touch with us on these show nights, through text, through phone, say, I think it was meant to be because I've been thinking about this, I've been thinking about that. I think there is something in that. But if you are watching now, don't let this opportunity pass you by, because genuinely I see this as an opportunity for you, not for us, because we don't get the will, we don't get the lasting power of attorney. We get you as a client and we get to help you, but the person that gets the relief, the benefit is you. But we can only help you, and Charlotte can only help you, and Charlotte's team can only help you if you send that text. So if your phone's there now,
just do it.
Now's the time.
6677.
And it will be, won't it? It'll be right by you, or it'll be in
Yeah,
your
it
hand
will.
right this minute.
Yeah.
My mum's like, you've always got that thing in your hand, and we've always got the phone in our hand.
Or please, the team are there now.
Yeah.
We always man the offices, the team are there now. If you want to speak to someone, you're quite right, you don't need anything. No pun intended, you just need the will to do something. Just the hardest thing of this whole process, in my opinion, is making that phone call, sending that text. And once you've done that, you don't regret that you've done it, because what will happen at the end of it is you've done something brilliant for yourself and your family.
And let's show you how easy it is with the offers and then how to get in touch. Really simple, really straightforward. If you are wanting to write a will, you've listened to everything that Ian and Charlotte have said tonight, and you're thinking, now's the time to take that first step. Well, you can. And it's a great time because we've got great exclusive offers, but only until the close of business on Friday.
I bet lots of people think it's really expensive to write a will. Well, actually, even at full price, £249, I think that's a really great price to make sure what you've worked so hard for goes to the people that you want it to go to. But actually, we had an amazing deal tonight of £149, so reduced. But then, I don't know why, they've decided to give us another £30 off. So actually, it's even better. That was meant to be. £119 is your price, down from £249. And you can split that cost over 4 payments, £29.75. And I want you to look at that £29.75. How quickly and easily do you spend that on coffee? Perhaps in a week rather than a month, or just popping into the shop to get a pint of milk. I popped into the shop with my mum today, didn't really need anything. I think I spent just under £100. We spend money so easily, and this is money so well spent. It's so important you write your will, and it's not expensive. So secure that deal, but you need to do it before Friday at close of business. Now, we've just been talking about lasting power of attorney, which I think is just as important as well.
I think if you've listened to what the team have had to say about this, you'll know how important that is. So usual price of £349 comes down to £209 with the 40% off, but we've got an extra discount once again, bringing the price right down to £189. And with those 4 interest-free payments, it just makes it so affordable, doesn't it? £47.25 on your first of 4 payments. That could be what you spend spend on a takeaway over the weekend, $47.25 to get you started with that lasting power of attorney. But the biggest saving, and I think if you've listened to what everything's been said tonight, you will probably go for the will and the lasting power of attorney. That would usually combine to £598, I should say, down to $358 with that 40% off. But we're giving you another £80 off, but only until the close of business Friday. That's why we would say do it right now. And if you want to use those interest-free payments, it's only $69.50 on your first of 4 interest-free payments.
As long as you secure the deals tonight, you get in touch in some way, those deals are there for you. So if you secure the will, first of all, and then you a bit later on think, oh, I wish I'd done the lasting power of attorney as well, the team will allow you to change your mind and still secure those prices. And do remember, the first 250 people as well will get that fabulous book, What My Family Should Know. And in there is vital information that you probably wouldn't even think about. Passwords for your phone or your tablet. If you passed and then all your wonderful photographs that you've taken of you with the family's lost those because they haven't got the password to your phone, or perhaps there's vital emails they need to get hold of, and again they don't know the password to your tablet. It's all in this book, and all the pensions you've had in the past which your family won't know about, and they can be lost pensions. There's billions of money that's held back that should be going to people because they don't know where it should be going, and you'll have all that information in
first
that book.
250 people who secure
and
those
they
offers.
always go. So do make sure, another reason to secure your deal right now, not just before Friday at 5 o'clock, to do it now so you get the book.
Yeah.
And you don't forget to actually do it, because that's what we'll do. It'll be Saturday and you've missed out on all of those deals. And the nice thing is you can get in touch in any way.
Lots of different ways to
However
get in
you'd
touch,
rather.
all really easy and straightforward. You can go directly to simplerlaw.co.uk, but use the /shop on TV. That'll get you those exclusive deals we've been talking about. You can call the call centre. The team are there right through until 3 a.m. And you don't need any documents. You don't need anything with you. It's just about securing the deals and to make sure that you get those offers. 0333 600 2600 is the call centre number, or you can text the word will. And this is the simplest, most straightforward way. Like you said, Hayley, we've always got our phones in our hand. Just text the word will and take that first step.
So you haven't had to speak to anybody. You've done it in an instant. We love the texting competitions, don't we? I enter them all the time. But this is a competition that you will actually win, because you've secured all those deals by just texting will, and it's done. You can go off to bed. You know that you've actually taken that first step, because that first step is the thing we're rubbish at, isn't it? And it's not because we don't. You want to write a will. I just don't know why we just put things off, don't we? And then life gets in the way.
Yeah, and it's not that you don't want to do it a lot of the time, you just don't get round to it. Or if you have been put off by thinking, oh, it's too expensive,
There's so many things. We need a stair carpet. Oh my goodness, I would be ashamed to open our door and you see our stair carpet. Have we done it? No, because we just haven't gone to the shop and picked a carpet and asked them to come and put it down. And we'd love it, and it would be the best thing we could do. We'd walk in the door and we'd run up the stairs. You know, you want to do it, but for some reason, well, I don't know about Sean running up the stairs.
I was thinking of something else.
I'd be running back down really quickly. But you know it's something that it's so important. Honestly, if you haven't written a will, and I know you think, well, I've told the kids, everybody knows what I want to happen, with what we've worked so hard for. It's not going to happen, because if you haven't written a will, there is a will for you. It's the government will, and it doesn't work for anyone. It doesn't work for us. We've been together 34 years and we still haven't run up the stairs. But in those 34 years, we've everything is ours.
It's all the presumptions, the misconceptions.
So I would presume we've been
wills.
together all this time. The family know that everything is ours. So if I passed, it would all be Sean's. If he passed, it would all be mine. The government will, no, that would not be the case at all. If you're a mixed family with children from different partners, but now you're this lovely big family where you don't even see yourself as stepbrothers and stepsisters, that government will, which is 100 years old, will not be right for your family.
We'll get the team to explain that and why it's not right for anyone in a couple of minutes.
I just think people don't realise there is a will in place.
No, it's there if you haven't written a will, and that's why it's so important to write your own, so that your wishes are what happens when you pass away.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to secure these deals tonight, so you've got the best prices, and you've taken that step to make sure that you don't cause sometimes family upset, because if they know what you want to happen, you know, you've told them, but it doesn't happen because you didn't write the will, you would kick yourself, wouldn't you, if you were looking down and seeing your family fall apart because nothing was going how it should be. And we'll talk to the team, because we've got Simpler Law with us, 2 experts.
Yes, Ian and Charlotte join us. And it is, Charlotte, this is what you specialise in. You don't do all and everything. It's all about estate planning, isn't it?
No, exactly. This is all that we do. And as you've shown previously in the show, we have 5-star Trustpilot reviews, which are named.
Yeah.
And we're really, really proud of those, because this is a hand-holding service that we provide. And it is showing that the clients, when they're naming the consultants that they're speaking to, that it is a personal service, and they are really appreciative of that. And we are really proud of that. We are award winners as well, which you'll be very proud to say.
Yes, without a doubt.
But no, this is what we specialise in. We've got a fully trained staff that we're really proud of. So if you're going to put something in place, just make sure you do it properly.
Get the experts.
We're going to give you the advice. It's up to you whether you take that.
You don't come to us for any other area of the law. We specialise in this and this only. So we'd rather be an expert in sort of one field rather than a jack of all trades and a master of none. So you wouldn't come to me or Charlotte for, you know, advice on a boundary dispute or a personal injury claim or a divorce, that kind of thing. But if you want to take control of what happens to you, your family, and everything you've worked hard for, you speak to Charlotte, and you won't regret doing it. Because the last thing that you want, and you won't realise that this is the last thing you want, is to die without a will, because that is guaranteeing then that your family are going to have to deal with a government will which doesn't care about them and doesn't care about you. We are just an account number, but that's because there has to be a default position, because again, logically, there's only 2 ways you can pass away. You either pass away with your own will or you pass away without one. There's no grey area, and it's not enough to say that you've spoken to someone, because that's not legally binding. So if you've made your own will, your wishes are going to be carried out. You've done something amazing. If you haven't made your own will, you've passed away, you're said to have died intestate, therefore you get the default position. And it can't possibly care about millions of people in the UK. It just can't. But there has to be that default position, otherwise everyone would just, well, I want this.
I was like, that's ridiculous. But like you say, there has to be something. Yeah. But there can't be one thing that's right for everybody, can there?
No, and it's difficult to use the word, is it right for everybody? The reality is it's not right and it's not wrong. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of why we do these shows. We want to say to people, I used to do these seminars, and we still do them occasionally, and I was a little bit cruel in them, because I'd ask people to put their hand up if they'd already made a will, and then I'd pick on someone, that sounds horrible. But I'd choose someone who hadn't put their hand up and say, so you haven't got a will? And they go, no. And I say, you definitely haven't got a will? And I say, no. And I'm like, that's not actually quite right. Because whilst physically you haven't got a will document, you've got this government will.
So that falls into place if you haven't written your own will.
Every single time.
And when we call government will rules of intestacy, we've got a little slide to show, because it really is a series of yes/no questions, and this is the process that happens if you haven't written it down.
Ask the question of the person that's passed away. So it asks of the deceased. The first question that's asked, and this is where it sort of falls down, because again, there's no middle ground, there's no grey areas. It's a very straightforward yes or no question. Was the person that passed away married or in a civil partnership? Doesn't ask if they were in love, doesn't ask if they were cohabiting, doesn't ask if they've been together for 34 years and run or don't run upstairs with dodgy carpets. But again, but you're like, we have these conversations, and we share on TV things about ourselves because it's personal to us.
Yeah.
The rules of intestacy, there's nothing personal about it, because there can't be. It doesn't care and it can't care. And that's what makes a really difficult time even more difficult, especially when it actually does sometimes quite the opposite of what you know that person would have wanted. And there's nothing you can do about it, because that time passed. That's why I think we're quite right when we say, look, do it now, because we know that if you don't do it tomorrow, the weekend will come and I'll be a distant memory, and quite rightly so. But that opportunity would have passed. Yeah. I don't expect you to remember me and Charlotte forever, but... And I don't expect you to dwell on your will after you've done it, but just for that half an hour that it takes, it'll be one of the best half an hours that you've ever given.
It was a complete weight, complete weight off our shoulders, and we haven't got children to leave things to or to worry about. But we just presumed that it would go to each other, and I think so many people are in the same. And because I've said, for us, it wouldn't work because we're not married. Even if you are married, life is so different now because those rules of intestine were made 100 years ago. So lots of families now are remarried, married perhaps once, twice, 3 times, children from different partners. And that government will not work for those families either, even though they don't see themselves as stepbrothers and sisters and stepchildren. They're one big family.
It will certainly distribute the estate, but it definitely won't distribute it in the way that you would expect them to want it to be distributed, because again, it always follows marital status and bloodline. So if, as you rightly said, an example where you've got a couple that are on their second marriage, but they might have had children from their previous marriages, but so they've got children each, you've got 2 separate bloodlines there. But the bond that you've got is the marriage. So let's say Mr. passed away first. Under the rules of intestacy, believe it or not, husbands and wives and civil partners aren't guaranteed everything neither. No. So that's something else that catches people out. It's like, well, we're married, so we'll get everything.
Yeah, you would just expect that's the case.
There's a limit. You're only guaranteed the first 322,000. Then there's a convoluted calculation depending on children and now your other assets.
And then when you think about a house,
it can get
house value.
Oh, God.
It can get really complicated. Ever tried to deal with civil servant? Ever tried to deal with HMRC? Ever tried? You know, it's much more complicated than it needs to be, but at the same time, it's really difficult to simplify it because we're not simple. So coming back to the point, Mr. passes away, and let's say their estate's worth less than the 322,000, so everything will go to Mrs. So that seems reasonable, and that may be what they both wanted to happen. But then when Mrs. passes away, it will ask about her children, not stepchildren. So it's only bloodline, so then all the money then goes down to her children only. So the lottery is the first person that dies in that scenario, their children are going to lose out. Yeah. And they don't realise they're going to lose out until the survivor passes away and everything goes to the survivor's children. And that, you can imagine the rift that can cause.
Oh, gosh,
and sometimes we hear, well, I'm sure they'd sort it out between themselves. And that's a huge responsibility.
Absolutely. Pressure to put on your family. And they're
Really
really grieving. Yeah.
Proper pressure.
And I don't want to cast aspersions, but someone's just received, I don't know, £250,000, out, that they're legally entitled to. No one else has got any other claim on it. And then the stepbrother or stepsister, I didn't really like you anyway.
Oh, don't.
I'm not being horrible,
No,
but money and bereavement can do strange things. So making a will is incredibly selfless. You'll find it quite cathartic, truthfully. No one ever gets to the end of a consultation and says, oh, I wish I'd not done that.
Never.
Regularly we hear, oh, that was easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
We genuinely hear, I wasn't expecting to laugh through this.
Yeah.
That's just because Charlotte's funny. But it's not as difficult as you think it's going to be, or maybe. We'll often ask people, why did you do it? And it's like, well, we saw that bloke with a big nose and double chin on TV, so we thought now's the time. That's a perfectly good reason for doing it, by the way. But why have you not done it sooner? And we'll often hear, well, we thought it was going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
It's not. We thought it was going to be really difficult. When you've gone through the consultation, you realise it's not, because you have all the answers. We guarantee you have all the answers because it's your document. And some people genuinely think it's going to be a bit morbid.
Yeah.
One of the craziest things I've ever heard is someone say, I don't want to make a will because I might tempt fate.
Oh, gosh.
We have to let that person be, because, you know, we all know that's inevitability. None of us want to dwell on it.
Yeah.
But let's just plan for it and then forget about it.
Well, the other thing, people might be just worried or nervous about writing a will, and we've got a review to share with you that says exactly that. So take a look at this one from Jean. Jean said, I was rather nervous to begin with, but from the very beginning, every person I spoke to put my worries at rest. It was a very simple procedure, and I will be recommending them to anyone I know who hasn't yet got a will. I think that says it all, doesn't it?
And it's so important to have a will. And I think sometimes some of us think, well, I haven't got anything. And the truth is, I think sometimes when we think about wills, we think purely of money. And perhaps you haven't got a great deal in the bank, but you've probably got a house, you've probably got a car. But actually, Charlotte, you've probably got a dog or a cat or a family heirloom.
To you.
There's so many other things you can put into a will.
It's all relative as well.
It's what valuable.
They're your belongings, aren't they?
Exactly. And actually, a lot of the time we'll speak to clients and we do go through the estate. And when you actually sit back and take stock of what you do have,
Well, you
usually do have a lot more than what you expect as well. But yeah, pets are really, really important. And you can actually put a gift of pet into your will, which a lot of clients will do.
So you can pass your pet on to someone.
Yeah, and stipulate who you want to look after them. If you want to leave some money with that person as well to care for the pet, you can do
Brilliant.
that. A lot of clients make that more important than actually the children.
Lovely.
But yeah, gift of pets, because they're important. Family heirlooms, as you've said, so a specific ring to a certain person or something you just want to stay
Just
down the
sentimental
bloodline.
things.
Yeah, it's what's
Charitable
important
donations
to
are
you.
a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
as
they
well.
definitely are.
So you can specify all that in
Yeah.
your will.
Even
And
putting funeral requests in there as well.
I think that's really good, because I think that's something we do really struggle with, is talking
To
about
discuss it, yeah.
what you want to happen. You know, I wouldn't want to ask what do you want to happen at your funeral, because
Yeah.
I don't want to think about me being here and you not being
Yeah.
here, sort of thing. But if you've actually already written that down, that's going to make it so much easier, isn't it?
Exactly right, yeah.
Because you're so this horrendous
Horrible
bubble
situation.
of upset, and then you've got to try and think about what the funeral should be, but it's there.
It's there, and again, it's your wishes, it's your control. By putting this document in place, you know for a fact that that's going to happen. And whatever you do have, it's important to you, it's important to your family. So making that call today and sending that text, it's going to make sure that that does happen.
And I think it's really important. We talk about children, don't we? If you know, you've got to think about what would happen to your children if perhaps you both went at the same time.
Children and grandchildren are always a consideration, about when do they inherit, when's the right time to
Okay.
inherit, because you can specify ages at which they
See,
inherit.
I'd never thought about this, but if you were, because when do you inherit?
At 18. So if your parents pass away when you're a minor, and we'll talk about guardianship because that's something else that's important, which I think is what Sean was asking me, but what's really important is that you know your kids better than anyone else.
Of course.
And deep down you'll know, will my son or my daughter make the right decisions?
We
if
haven't
they
lived
inherit?
at 18, have we? We
No.
haven't
No.
learned,
There's
we
lots-
haven't...
It's a lot to take on if you're inheriting from an estate at 18,
Yeah.
isn't it?
You hear a lot of lottery winners when they get that money
amounts of
young.
money.
Yeah, definitely.
That then you read in the paper a few years down the line that it's all gone, because
Yeah.
you just don't
You don't
think
know how to
right,
manage
do
it,
you?
do
a
you?
lot of
No.
clients
We-
tend to
we-
push it older.
We've spoken to people, and we've actually got people that work with us who've actually experienced that themselves. You know, we'll talk about various things when we're doing training sessions, and we're talking about clients who are doing client case reviews. You know, and I've often spoke about, and we hear about people blowing it, and one member of staff went, I went, oh, I'm so sorry, because you know we talk about it being everyone, because
Yeah,
often
yeah.
having someone else, and this lady said, that was me. My grandparents left me some money. I should have had a house now.
Oh.
But she went, boy, did I have a brilliant 18 months.
18 months.
But you know,
Could have
she's
been a
kind of
lifetime.
secretly devastated
Of
now
course,
because
yeah.
that money was, well,
She
she had a
knows
brilliant
now.
time. She's like, my grandparents wouldn't have wanted me to blow it. She said, but I got it when I was 18.
Yeah.
She had,
Don't
I was
think like that,
18.
do
It was
you?
all my friends. It was
Let's
like,
go.
and it was going to last forever.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so much as well, isn't
So I
it? When you're
immediately
young?
chastised her and said, you're an embarrassment and you're a
You're
disgrace to your
shocking.
family.
Written warning.
So can you, in your will, say you want your children to have it at 21, or can
Children-
you allow them so much
Yeah.
at certain
Yeah, you
times?
can
or
stagger it as well. Definitely, and a lot of our
Makes more
clients do
sense,
actually
doesn't
increase
it?
the age to 21, 23, even 25.
So you
Yeah.
could give certain amounts at certain ages.
It's your
I
document.
mean,
it's your
what I will
will.
say is this isn't even anecdotally. We know for a fact that the vast majority of our parents of young children actually do not want the children to
Right.
inherit at
Absolutely.
18, because they're like, the second they know that, oh, you know, and you can talk to them about if they need something, we can make provision for them at 18.
Yes.
But what if most people will choose 21, 23, and in
yeah.
some cases they might go out to 25. But again, it's personal choice, because they think, well, they'll make those decisions. The other side when it comes to children is, of course, when both parents are alive, we've got parental responsibility. A will isn't just about leaving your watch, your ring, your money. You can actually bequeath your parental responsibility through a guardianship clause. So you can say, if God forbid the worst happened to both of us, this is the person or this is the couple where we'd want our children to go,
Right.
and we'd want them to be the guardians of the children. And again, that's a really selfless thing, but that should give you peace of mind. Because most parents, if you put them on the spot, while it's an awful question to ask them, but we have to ask it, if the worst happened to both of you yesterday, who would you want to bring up your kids? Now, when my wife and I had that conversation, it's quite jolting.
Yeah,
it's a little,
absolutely.
that is a little bit upsetting for a nanosecond, because it's like, well, I don't want to think of my children growing up without me. But then we had to snap together and go, but what?
Yeah.
We've got to practice what we preach.
Yeah.
So let's plan for the worst, but hope for the best. So our guardians are in our will. So we know that if life did throw us a curveball, we've got that peace of mind that our boys are going to people that they love and that people love them back in return. And that's what every parent, you know, should want. Don't leave it to chance. And don't leave an emotional time. We have grandparents arguing over
because everyone steps forward.
And it's all from
the
a
right
good
reasons,
it's all from a good
yeah.
place and the right reasons, but of course then the courts have to get involved. And
And then
really
there's two young children that just want to be loved and looked after, isn't there?
thankfully it's really extreme. It's rare, but in really extreme and rare circumstances when it can't be resolved or there is no guardianship clause, your child ends up in the care system, become a ward of court.
Yeah.
And it's all avoidable. So all this stuff where I sort of go into 100 and go, this is sad, this is bad. Speak to Charlotte, and Charlotte, or a member of her team, ideally a member of her team, we can fix all of that, but we can only fix it if you text us or call us.
Yeah.
So honestly, if you're there tonight,
Take that
listening
first
to me,
step.
if you've got your phone in your
It's
hand
the
now,
most important thing.
if you've got your phone in your hand, do me a favour, phone one of the team now, because
And speak to
they're in the
them,
office.
yeah.
Keep
Phone
them
them,
busy.
speak to them, keep them busy. If you don't want to speak to someone, and I appreciate if you don't at this early hour, just text the word will to 66777 and we will call you back. It will secure the book for you, it will secure these prices. Because if you don't do it tonight and you're seriously thinking about doing it, if you don't do it tonight, I promise you tomorrow morning you'll wake up and everything will be fine again.
Yeah.
And life will get in the way and you'll just move on and it'll never happen.
Yeah.
And you won't know the opportunity that you've missed.
Yeah.
And remember, the deals that we've got tonight are only for a limited time.
Yeah.
So the deals that we've given you finish, or Simpler Law have given you, finish at close of business on Friday. And you will kick yourself, won't you, if you suddenly remember on Sunday. I've done it time and time again for holidays, weekends away, and you go back and all of a sudden it's gone up £200 and you think, well, how stupid, why didn't I just secure the deals? That's all you're doing.
It is
tonight.
that simple, taking that first step. And remember, with a will, we often think, oh, it's just about money, but it's so much more, as Charlotte's just been explaining, as Ian's just been explaining, even things like executors. Now, for anyone at home who's thinking, what's an executor, can you explain that for us?
Yeah, so executors are the people that administer your estate. So they go through what's called probate, and they're in charge of distributing and following the wishes of your will, essentially,
Right.
to make sure that that happens. But again, these need to be people that you trust. You can choose, again, the point of this is that it's your choice, it's personal to you. You can choose to have what we call lay executors. So they could be family, friends, people that you know, people that you trust. You can also appoint a professional. So we do also offer the service of being executors if you want to take that away from your family.
Right.
Okay.
And leave that with a professional. You can have a mix of the two. Again, that's advice that we give you, but the whole point of it, again, is that it's your choice. It's your document, and by not having that will in place, you don't have that choice.
Sometimes clients are brutal about their own children because they'll say, well, we'd love our son to do it. And then their dad will go, but he's thick as pudding.
Oh,
and
bless.
Can't say that.
Okay.
And they'll go, I can because it's my child.
do, yeah.
And they'll say what's involved and we'll tell them and say, well, can anyone else do it? So again, it is personal choice. But if you think if they've not made a will, then it's probably going to come down to his son to then make those decisions. And then sometimes you're making the wrong decision because you're bereaved and you don't know where to turn.
And they haven't got an instruction at that point either, because there's no will.
No.
So it just makes everything more difficult.
Cannot stress enough how selfless it is to make a will. But it is for you ultimately.
It's for you, but for everyone else.
It's your last gift to your loved ones.
I love
isn't
it when you say that because it's your last act on planet Earth, and this is what always freaks me out a little bit, because your last act on planet Earth should be yours, not.
Don't let it be taken away from you.
And it might be that you don't want to leave it to family members. You might want to leave it to friends.
Because you can do that as well.
Yeah. And there was that story as well about that gentleman who he'd written down, he had a really good friend that lived next door, and he was going to leave him his house. He'd told
Everyone
him.
knew. It was like everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Everyone knew that it was going to go to. But everyone. They were lifelong mates. He had no family. It's like, look, when I pass away, this is going to go to you. And it was like, it wasn't anything that was, there wasn't a big sticker on this is going to. Yeah. But when he did pass away, there was just an expectation it's going to go to Bob. So, the next time you meet, I'm sorry to hear about such and such, and, what's happening with the house. And it went to a distant relative in Canada because he died without a will.
That he'd probably never even ever met. And you hear that a lot, don't you?
Yeah, and unfortunately, as I said, we could, I'm sure I am boring our viewers now, but we could bore our viewers with all of these stories. But of course, the interesting thing when you tell these stories, whilst all of these stories are true, that kind of defense mechanism in us tells us, oh, well, that's happened to somebody else, it won't happen to me.
Yeah.
But it's when it does happen to you, because
Yeah.
life has a habit of throwing a curveball. And, you know, we all know that life isn't fair sometimes. But the way to stop this unfairness, or to stop this, what's perceived as an injustice, and there's plenty of that felt, is just make a will.
Yeah, don't leave it to
It's
it.
so simple.
Because
it's so
if you
easy to
don't,
do.
there is a will. It's the government will,
Take
and that
control.
Yeah, that
that's
government
exactly
will
it.
isn't what you would want. And whatever situation you're in, not right for us because we're not married, not right for you if you are married, if you're married with children from different partners, definitely not right for you if you're single. And perhaps
Well,
the story we spoke about earlier.
It's just not your wishes, is it?
No.
That's the point.
It's not you.
No.
It's got nothing to do with you and nothing to do with
It's
your
not
family.
personal. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about your family or loved ones.
Totally understandable, because there has to be a default position. There
Yeah.
has to be.
Because you do say, well, that's ridiculous, but there has to be something, doesn't there?
And there is no mitigating circumstance to that. If you pass away without a will and you're worth £10 million, the rules of intestacy still kick in. If you pass away without a will and monetarily your estate's only got £10 in it, the rules of intestacy will
Still
kick
the
in.
same.
But whatever your wishes were, whatever your personal wants were, are just disregarded because the rules of intestacy can't take that into consideration. The only way you can get that into a legally binding document is to tell someone like Charlotte what you want to happen, and Charlotte will give you the appropriate advice as you go along, and we'll only produce a document for you when you're 100% happy with what you've told us and you're 100% happy with what we've told you. And if at any point you're not, you just turn around and say, do you know what? I'll have my money back, please. This isn't for me.
Yeah.
That very, very rarely happens, because you know that this is your document, it's right for you, but you can only know that, and you can only go through the process if you send that text out or you pick up that phone.
You've got nothing to lose. You've got so much to gain. But what you could actually lose is actually the offer we've got tonight, or this morning, because this does finish at close of business on Friday. It's a time-limited offer. It's actually an extra deal that we weren't expecting. So price-wise, take a look at the prices, because I think so often we think a will's going to be complicated, and we've just proven honestly it's not. Simpler Law virtually hold your hand. All you don't need any documents, you don't need to know anything. They'll talk all the questions and get all the answers from you. But you'd think it'd be really expensive, and even at full price for that will, it's
a
worth
great
every
price.
single penny,
Yeah,
isn't it?
£249. Well, it's down to 100. Well, it should have been down to 149, but the team at Simpler Law have offered us a further discount. But as Hayley said, only until close of business on Friday. The price comes down to £119, and if you want to spread that cost, just $29.75 on your first of 4 interest-free.
And I bet I bet you spend more on coffee. I would say definitely each month, but even probably every week. I bet you spend more than coffee. $29.75. It's so little, but it's going to mean so much. It's your last gift to your loved ones. And then you've got the lasting power of attorney, which we're going to talk about that very briefly before the end of the show. You can see there should be.
Well, the price it should be for the lasting power of attorney is £349. It should have been $209 on our offer price, 40% off, but we've got an extra discount, so it comes down to £189. That's just $47.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments.
And we're going to get a takeaway tomorrow, and I bet you it's more than $47.25. Again, comparing with what we quite happily waste our money on, you are actually a lasting power of attorney. Stay with us is so important. And then if you do secure the will deal tonight, and then we're just going to talk about lasting, power of attorney, and you think, oh, why didn't I do the two together? Don't panic. As long as you've secured the prices, they will change to the will and lasting power of attorney. And you've got a massive saving
Huge
there.
saving. It should have been $598 on the usual price. Our 40% off brings it down to $358, but we've got an extra £80 off the price of the combination of the will and lasting power of attorney, which means it comes down to £278, or on those interest-free payments, just $69.50 on your first of 4 payments. Remember to get in touch It's really simple and straightforward. And the first 250 people will also receive that book we talked about, What My Family Should Know.
And that book always goes, so do make sure you're one of the first. Do it now.
Yeah.
Either jump onto the website, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. They are still on the phones. They're waiting for you. Well, they're probably busy, actually. I think we've had a very busy night. 0333 600 2600. But they will answer as soon as they can. You might have a couple of questions to ask, but honestly, tonight is just securing those deals. They'll get back to you and sort out a time that's really relevant and a good time. Even if you're going away for the next 3 weeks, you can sort out a date later to actually really sit down and talk about your will or your lasting power of attorney. But the easiest and the best and the most popular, I think, is by text.
Yeah, just text the word WILL, W-I-L-L, to 66777. That makes sure you register your number, and then you're going to get those offers that we've been talking about, and hopefully you're still one of the first 250 to receive that book. You can also use the QR code on screen. That takes you through to the offers, or you can go to our website, shopontv.co.uk, scroll down and click on Simpler Law. It's just in our on-screen partners section there, and it takes you straight through to the offers, and you just fill in that very simple, very straightforward form that you see there. You can also catch the show back on YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can click and subscribe there if you want to watch back. But remember, the offers are only available until close of business on Friday. Now, we just want to cover lasting powers of attorney again.
Yeah, because you perhaps haven't heard of this, or perhaps you have, and you might have heard of this because someone's been poorly and you've heard of this terrible situation. Because lasting power of attorney.
Well, that's why I knew about it, and that's why then you got it for your mum, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And lasting power of attorney, if you have heard of the term, Charlotte, and you're not quite sure what it is, can you explain what it is to everyone?
Yeah, so these are documents that you need to put in place now whilst you're alive, so that if life throws you a curveball and you lost your capacity for any reason, whether it be ill health or a freak accident, these documents allow you to nominate who you trust to essentially become you and make decisions on your behalf. So it could be family members, it could be friends. Again, the point of power of attorney is it's your choice.
Right.
You're putting these documents in place, hoping you never need them, but should the worst happen, those people can step into your shoes and make those decisions for you if you are unable to.
And there's 2 lasting powers of attorney, and we came to you, the reason we know Simpler Law is we went to do mums, and we came for the financial.
So property and affairs is the first one,
which is
isn't
what
it? The financial one.
We thought that was it really, but then there is a second, which do wait and listen about it, because I think they're both as important as each other. But I would presume, because everyone knows I look after my mum, I love my mum, I'd always look after her, that all these things I would be able to do. But all those things on that page, when you think about it, actually, if my mum's poorly and can't look after herself,
again, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to go into a bank and get money out. I'm not going to be able to sort her bills out, am I? I'm not going to be able to do those things.
Well, you contact an institution on anyone's behalf, the first thing they're going to say to you is, are you the account holder? They're going to do the data protection.
Yeah.
And if
As
you're
soon
not
as you
the
say
account
no,
holder,
stops
they won't
there,
speak
doesn't
to you.
it? Yeah.
Exactly. And if someone's lost their capacity, they're more vulnerable. So if anything, they've got more to protect at that point. So if you haven't got powers of attorney in place, you can't do anything for that person that's lost capacity.
And of course, all those bills keep coming in. Might be that you need to sell a property to go into a home or something. You can't do any of that.
No, these things don't stop. So debts could be accruing at that point. Bills still need to be paid. So by putting a document in place, if the worst should happen, those people that you've nominated can actually step into your shoes and go to the bank on your behalf. They can pay your bills.
And I always thought, this is for an older person, but actually it's completely not. Because and this really shook me. If you're married and you've got a joint account, if your partner has gone through a terrible accident, they're in hospital, they can't look after themselves. Even the joint account, you can't access because it's a joint account.
You both have to give permission, exactly. If someone's lost their capacity on that account, then they can't give permission.
So
it's
even the joint assets are
same with if you both own a property, you've got the same problem there. So by putting that document in place, whoever that person is that's lost that capacity, you're donating your voice. So you're actually called a donor on a power of attorney.
Right.
As if I was writing my power of attorney, I'm the donor because I'm donating my power to my family to be able to step into my shoes and do those things for me because I can't. So these are really, really powerful documents and they're so important for everyone. We relate to the elderly because you see more ill health.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, as you get older with dementia. But
My friend
could
had a
be
terrible accident in her 40s.
Yeah,
And
a car accident, any ill health at any age. The whole point of these is once you've done them, you can put them to the side.
yeah.
You've got that peace of mind that if life should throw you that curveball, that these people can step in for you, and you hope you never need them, but they're there should you. So the most important thing is to get them in place.
And then just briefly, we have
Yeah.
got a second
There
lasting
are
power of
two.
attorney,
Yeah.
and which I think is just as important
It
or even
really
more
is.
important, because I think this is even more personal, which is what we're seeing here.
It's really personal, yeah. It's health and welfare. So again, you're nominating who you trust. It can be one person, two. It can be the same as your financial or different. A lot of clients might say they want, for example, their son to do their finances, their daughter to do their health.
Right,
or
so you can
vice
choose
versa.
different
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. So with the health document, that person can discuss where you're living. So if they want you to live at home with them and they want to care for you themselves, they can make that choice. They can decide if it needs to be in a care home, where that care home is. They can actually decide as well for you if you don't want people to visit you.
Oh,
And
that's
that's,
we haven't
interesting.
actually picked up,
No, we
so-
haven't. That's quite important, because there can be family upset and they wouldn't want perhaps a sister or somebody visiting.
Exactly. If you're estranged from a family member, normally you wouldn't want to see that person. If you've lost your voice, you actually can't say if you don't want
course,
that person
yeah.
to visit you. So by having that power of attorney, again, you're using someone that you trust to be
Make
your
those
voice in that
decisions.
scenario.
Yeah, that's great.
And the frightening thing is, if you haven't got lasting power of attorney, that person in your family that you don't trust could actually step forward and try to take control, because if you haven't got a lasting power of attorney, there is, like the government will, there is sort of a court of protection,
process,
isn't there?
isn't
There's a
there?
process that happens.
There's only one other alternative. So if life throws you that curveball, we all know life can be cruel. And you're right about age and the time to do it. No one can make a lasting power of attorney for you. There's only you can do it. And the only right time is now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again,
Whatever
without
age.
doom and gloom.
Before anything happens.
Yeah, tomorrow's not promised. And I think in the UK, the youngest person diagnosed with dementia is in the 20s.
It's really young now,
It's
isn't it? Early onset,
terrifying.
yeah.
So if you haven't got a lasting power of attorney and life throws you that curveball, you then have, truthfully, no idea what's going to happen beyond then. You're hoping that someone that you trust, maybe someone that you would have chosen for yourself, would then go to something called the Court of Protection and apply for what's called a deputyship order. And that's the only alternative open to your loved ones, your friends or your family.
And we're looking at the costs of that. So you personally have got to try and find this money to try to get control to look after your family.
Yeah, and those fees are if you do it yourself and don't employ a professional to help with the court process, the application forms, because the court forms, they are horrifically thick, and you have to jump through a lot of hoops to prove that you're the right person to go through it.
For us, we just wouldn't understand
You wouldn't
it.
be able to do it.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't be able to do it, definitely.
And it-
Truthfully, I'm glad that I work with a lot more intelligent people than me.
Thought you were going to
Nice.
say the nose, mate. Fair enough.
To be fair, that's a given, Sean. But in all seriousness, you know, it's bearing in mind that this is what I do for a living. I wouldn't want to have to go through that process myself.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't
No.
go through that process. I would get a professional to do it.
And
But
one of the
course,
worst things,
I've got a lasting power of attorney, so
Yeah.
no one for me is going to have to go through that.
Yeah.
it's not just the money side of that, though, is it?
Time.
It takes such a long time for that all to be worked out, and whether you should look after your mum
So
or
that
dad's or your
court
partners.
process.
Taking over a year.
Gosh.
So the person that you want to sort and look after, and your loved one, they could have died in that time.
Sadly, that happens, unfortunately.
Oh, it's horrendous.
And, you know, and the horrible thing, you know, like if you really want to doom and gloom, you know those horrible stories like, oh, do you hear about Bill? He worked until he was 70 and the day he retired, he died. All those horrible things. Unfortunately, all too often, we hear that, oh, the court's finally granted the deputyship order and it's the day after someone's died, or it's the day that, and you're just like, it's almost like the universe is deliberately taking the mick.
Yeah.
And you're like, why couldn't this have been done quicker? But again, it's one of these situations that it is what it is, and it can be really frustrating for someone that all they want to do is care for the loved one, but
Yeah, of
their
course.
attention is dealing with a professional, even a professional like us. You know, we can help with that kind of thing, but we'd rather see you register a lasting power of attorney with the Office of Public Guardian, and your attorneys that you've chosen just look after you, instead of having to deal with this long-winded, very expensive court process, which again is all avoidable. I always talk about the mythical crystal ball. If you saw the future and you saw life throwing you a curveball, you wouldn't hesitate to put this
No.
in place. But you kind of
We
have
don't
to,
have that, yeah.
No, you it's a gamble either way, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the lesser of a gamble is to have it in place and hope you never need to use it.
Maybe
And
that's
I-
a waste of money. if that's the case.
I see it as a bit of it's not an insurance, but it is like an insurance. And I bet you've insured so many things.
What if, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, yeah.
So, I mean,
A what if document.
Your family are the most important things, but you'll insure your phone, you'll insure, my mum insured the dishwasher for years. Like, what have you done that? She's like, well, why am I paying this? I'm like, I don't know, why are you paying that? We could have bought 300
She never
dishwashers.
uses it.
And she doesn't, it's the family dishwasher. It takes her a good week to fill it up and use it. So honestly, we do waste money, but this is money that is so well spent. And you really have got some incredible deals, and you will have this peace of mind because it's out of your control. Lasting power of attorney, if you haven't got it, it's out of your control. If you fall ill, to who can and will look after you. But also wills, and we'll just go back to will just briefly because sadly we're coming towards
nearly
the
out
end
of time, yeah.
of the show. The will is the same. If you haven't written a professional, legally binding will, you actually have got a will, haven't you?
Yeah, the only way, we have testamentary freedom in the UK, but the only way to get away from the government will is to make your own. When you make your own, you're effectively saying, I don't want the government will. And that means that you've taken control and your document is going to deal with your estate for your family and it's yours. Really, really simple. If you don't have your own will, it doesn't matter what your belief is, what your wants are, what your wishes are. It doesn't matter how many people you tell. It doesn't matter if you write it down on a napkin. Without a legally binding document, without that in place, you will die intestate, and that means you get the government will.
So that's there, and I think a lot of people won't even know
No.
about it, will they, Ian?
Would you?
No,
I
that's
suppose
it.
so.
You
Why would
presume, we presume, together 34 years, presumed, obviously everybody knows what's mine is Sean's, what Sean is mine. But with the government will, that would not be the case at all.
And here's the interesting thing, and I don't want to come across as patronising, but if you've watched this show tonight or you're listening to me now, the one thing you've got to be honest with yourself about is that now you do know about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
good
if
point.
now you decide not to make a will, you're actually making an informed decision. There's lots of people who pass away where they and their family didn't know that there was a government will. If you've watched this show, you know there
You
is
know
a
all
government
about
will,
it,
so
yeah.
you're making an informed choice to take that
Use
gamble.
that, yeah.
And honestly, please, just look for yourself. It doesn't work.
No.
Because
For
it
anybody.
doesn't care about you. know, it
Doesn't
care
work
about
for us
you.
not married, doesn't work if you're married, definitely doesn't work if you're married and you've got children from different partners, perhaps it's your second marriage. You'd be blown away if you realise what was going to happen if you hadn't written a legal will.
But that's the point.
Devastated.
All you've got to do is write your own will and
It's
write
only-
down your own
sorry,
wishes.
Sean, it's only interested in giving you an outcome because
Yeah.
there has to be an outcome. There has to be a conclusion.
Yeah.
So there's a really basic question asked of the person that's passed away. Did they pass away with their own will or without? If it's without, that's not a problem. Here's the government
This is
will,
what
and then
happens.
all those questions start to be asked that don't care about you or your family.
It can be devastating. It can pull
Please
families
don't die
apart, can't it?
intestate.
No.
Yeah.
Speaking to Charlotte is a bonus in its own, but the additional bonus of speaking to Charlotte or a member of her team is you get rid of the government
And-
will.
We're going to finish there. He's been so nice.
Yeah.
I know. My word.
Now,
let's step away.
Before we do that, just to remind everyone, Charlotte, at home, when they do get in touch, they don't need any documents right now
You
or
don't
anything,
need
do they?
anything. No, you've just got to take that first step. It's a hand-holding process. We will
And
deal
you
with
do.
everything else for you. We've got all the questions. You have got the answers. Just take that first step. That's the hardest bit.
And
Once
that
you've
is
done that,
the absolute truth, because
Yeah.
I dealt with Simpler Law before they came to us here on Shop on TV, and they truly do. We were clueless. We thought, oh God, it's going to be really difficult. What are we going to need? We're going to need all this paperwork. Not at all. It's a really nice conversation, like we've sat down and chatted tonight.
Don't even need all
and
the answers.
yeah, we've got the
all
answers,
there.
and we don't realise
Yeah.
you've got the questions to find the answers that we need. Price-wise, you can't afford to miss out on these deals, and you will if you don't secure the deal. I would say right now, though the deal's until close of business on Friday, do it now. You're going to forget, aren't you, tomorrow, and suddenly it'll be Sunday.
The will's down to £119. That's $29.75 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. The power of attorney is down to £189. That's $47.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. And the combination, the best value of all, the will and lasting power of attorney is right down to £278. You're saving £320. It comes down to $69.50 on
and
your
being
first
able
of 4
to
payments.
split that cost, look at those costs. I bet you spend more on coffee, more on takeaways.
More on a meal out.
Absolutely. Or you popped into the shop to get a bottle of milk and you've come out spending nearly £100. This is money so well spent. And you could be, if you do it right now, one of the 250 people that get that What My Family Should Know book. It's worth £25, and honestly, it's a book that everybody should have. The best thing is it's so easy to get in contact.
Yeah, it goes direct to the website, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. You can call the call centre. If you're quick, they're there to 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600. And as Charlotte said, you don't need any documents. It's just about securing the offers. Or you can text the word WILL, WILL, to 66777. All you've got to do is send that text and you've taken that first step.
Your phone will be in your hand, won't it? You've probably been possibly watching us on your phone. You've perhaps been watching and you're on your phone. Just text WILL. That's it. And what you've done is you've taken that first step. It's that first step that we're rubbish at, isn't it? And then you suddenly have all this peace of mind that, oh gosh, it's done.
What a relief.
And it is such an absolute relief. And remember, any questions you've got an amazing team to work with. They will become friends, and you'll never at any point think that question is too daft. And I am the best for daft questions, and I happily ask them all because you just make it all so easy. You really do.
We've got to say a huge thank you for Ian and Charlotte joining us once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lovely to see you.
Such an informative show, and it makes that first step that we've talked about so simple and so easy. So thank you once again. Hope to see you very soon. But remember, these deals are only until close of business on Friday.
Your last gift to your loved one. You'll kick yourself if you don't grab the deal. So get in touch and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. See you later.